Welcome back to the UCL Fantasy deadline stream, this time out of Matchday 13, the first leg of the quarterfinals, and we have a quick turnaround for the second leg, of course, next week, and the aim is to get all the content you need with the Limitless and Wildcard squads. I might combine them into one video that time for the best team overall, the team selection, and then a deadline stream. I'll keep you posted about that, but let's focus fully on today first, of course. We have a deadline at 8 PM UK time, so we have just under 2 hours until that deadline, and if we hit that Super Chat goal, this deadline will go on for a little bit longer whilst I'm watching the Arsenal versus Real Madrid game, and you might get some pretty interesting reactions, to say the least, if we do get that Super Chat goal, but hopefully it's nothing too negative in terms of what happens to Arsenal. I'm going to get straight into your questions and comments as always and provide all the latest injury updates, team news, because Real Madrid, as usual, have posted their lineup already. They like to flex their muscles, and it's a pretty impressive team, to say the least, especially in those attacking areas. And I'll also go for Predict 6 and everything else you need to know. So be sure to drop it a like and also subscribe to the channel if you enjoy my content. Our aim is to get this to a 300 likes, and let's make a late push and get as close as possible to 33,000 subscribers. We aren't too far away from that goal, and by the end of the season, that will be the next big aim. So Kilda says, ya hice mis cambios, me ganó el fan y metí a Bellingham en vez de Rafinha. ¿Me arrepentiré? Tal vez. Es posible. Para mí Rafinha es mejor que Bellingham cuando ves también el equipo contrario, y para mí Borussia Dortmund no tiene una defensa sólida, y con Schlotterbeck, que está fuera por toda la temporada, eso es muy difícil para Borussia Dortmund, y Barcelona tiene un ataque muy bueno, y Rafinha en la Champions League tiene 11 goles más que cualquier otro jugador, y por eso está primero en como los rankings del Ballon d'Or. FPL Kevy says, Mike Captain Starboy, biggest game of the season for Arsenal tonight, hope it's a good game, best of luck to you mate. Likewise to you, FPL Kevy, and that is one of the biggest kind of dilemmas I've got, whether I go for Bellingham or Saka. I've got the wildcard activated, as you can see in the title, and throughout all of my videos I made it very clear. I might go for Saka for that kind of 1 week punt and then move to Bellingham either for the second leg or perhaps going into the semi-finals if Real Madrid were to go through. So I do like Saka for the captaincy today, I have to be honest. He's right up there for me. The top 3 Tuesday options would include Kane, Mbappe and Bukayo Saka. I have put a poll out on my channel and a lot of different questions that you might be asking. If you go to that post or the community section on my channel, you'll be able to see all of them, and that could help you inform with your decision making, whether you captain a certain player on Tuesday, the best goalkeeper and stuff like that. So be sure to have a look if you haven't done so already. FPL Kevy says, also going to play Orbig and hope he starts, cheap goalkeeper. He should do. I've seen a few predicted lineups and pretty much every single one of them had Orbig in there. Manuel Neuer probably won't make it. Maybe for the second leg or for the semi-final should Bayern Munich get that far. But I think Orbig should be safe for at least this match day. Easy says Salah and Grimaldo will be out. Musiala, Upamecano also potentially out. Musiala is out. That is confirmed. And I think Upamecano is pretty much ruled out definitively as well. But we'll find out for sure in terms of other areas of how Bayern Munich will cope with these injuries. But I think Leroy Sané, for example, will get the nod for Bayern Munich, and it will likely be Kim Min-jae with Eric Dyer as the centre-back partnership. But Musiala is out for 8 weeks, and I'll show you a graphic or just basically a tweet just to confirm that, because that was announced on Friday after he scored. He unfortunately picked up an injury, and Sky Sports Germany believe he'll be out for 8 weeks, so that is a massive blow there for Bayern Munich. Easy also says, my team right now, Sommer, Martinez, Balde, Hakimi, De Vrij, Upamecano, Musiala, Rafinha, Rodgers, Dembele, Guirassy, Vinicius, Lewandowski. Yeah, of course, we've got the Madrid lineup already, but once we get Arsenal's, Bayern Munich's and Inter Milan's, you can start to make your final transfers. I know it's not ideal, but you might need to change, well, ideally you'd want to change Martinez, and actually that might be Emi Martinez, isn't it? So that's not too shabby, to be fair. They do play on different days. It's not really a big dilemma. Having said that, they both have tricky away games in Matchday 13, so that could be a slight concern, at least in the short term, but they're decent picks, I think, over both legs, especially Jan Sommer. I stole my wildcard in Limitless. Yeah, I think for those with both chips available, that will be quite difficult in terms of deciding which one you want to use. I have actually responded to quite a lot of comments across all of my videos explaining kind of my reasoning for when you should wildcard or Limitless. So for those that maybe aren't aware, you probably haven't seen those comments. So if you have a team you're very happy with 5 free transfers, you don't necessarily need to use the wildcard. And if you still got the Limitless in your back pocket, that might be an aggressive play to use that chip now and then save the wildcard for match day 14 or 15. But that is for UCL fantasy managers who have both chips still available. If you have a lot of injury problems or eliminated players, suspensions like Chouameni, in that sort of scenario, you might need to wildcard right now, maybe Limitless in match day 14. So that's where team situations are so important and it can determine your chip strategy. But if you only have one chip left, so let's actually break it down with the Limitless first. As discussed in that video, I'd use the Limitless in either match day 13 or 14. The more advanced you get into the competition, the fewer kind of, let's say, weaker teams you've got. You've got also some more balanced matchups, lower scores in general. So I think it's probably best to use Limitless as soon as possible. So that's why I would recommend 13 or 14 for that chip. But with a wildcard, you might be very happy for both legs of the quarterfinals. And in that case, you can save the wildcard for the semifinals and go very aggressive. Maybe go for Saka for match day 13 and kind of take that Tuesday captaincy punt, even if Arsenal end up being eliminated, God forbid. But that's the sort of thing you can do with those chips still intact. Like the video in the meantime, guys. Thank you very much, Trini. Of course, this was posted whilst we had the music on. Hopefully you do enjoy that. Zodiac says, we are ready. I hope that's the case. All the best, of course, for match day 13. Yeah, I'll go for the Madrid lineup fairly soon, of course. And I'll whiz through some of these and welcome some of you, like Native Faith. Welcome to you, of course. Wildcard now next week, so just covered. Let me know what you think, of course, and your situation might be slightly different, but I've kind of covered all of those scenarios in the last couple of minutes. Welcome, Jose Silva. And Samuel says, hola Dylan, si voy a utilizar el wildcard, ¿es recomendable hacer los 5 cambios gratis antes o no importa? No importa, porque el wildcard es parte de tus transferencias, así que no hay ninguna diferencia. Rashford expected to start tomorrow, says Insane Gamer 7. Well, he was benched, of course, in FPL, which was a little bit surprising, and Ollie Watkins got the nod. So we could see that sort of rotation up front for Aston Villa, and that could bode well for Ollie Watkins in Game Week 32 against Southampton away, which is something I've been discussing in the last couple of videos, or at least I will do coming up. Wildcard for the final is surely the smartest play? Not necessarily. You only need 11 players for the Champions League final in matchday 17, so your bench is completely irrelevant, and most people, from my experience, find it quite easy to get to a full 11 for matchday 17 it will be this time, and you can compete with the Limitless and wildcard teams by that stage, so it doesn't make too much of a difference. I think the wildcard is better used for most people even sooner. It could be the semi-finals or the quarterfinals, and it allows you to go for 1 week punts like Bukayo Saka on the Tuesday. Kane or Guirassy? I prefer Harry Kane, and one of the transfers I discussed in my team selection video is actually selling Guirassy, who is the highest scoring forward in this game, to Harry Kane, and I think that is probably the best thing to do. Is it a massive difference? Maybe not, but I think Dortmund will be eliminated, whilst Bayern Munich, I think, have a better chance of advancing, and Harry Kane is one of the best captaincy options on the Tuesday. And also be very mindful about that Tuesday-Wednesday balance. You probably want to have, ideally, more Tuesday players, but at the moment, I've actually got 8 on the Wednesday and 7 on the Tuesday, but I think a lot of people I'm seeing in the comments right now and also across all my videos are having a huge imbalance with only 4 Tuesday players. And whilst it's not the end of the world, I'd always try to advise you to have a bit of balance in your selections. Paredes puts a super chat. Thank you very much, mate. I have 6 players I need to move. Why not wildcard next match day? Maybe things will be clearer then. And why not Calhanoglu, Salah, Inigo Martinez, Dumfries, Schlotterbeck and Grimaldo? Of course, you can wildcard in either match day and also save it for the semi-finals, but because you have 5 free transfers now, that's why for some people it might be best to use those 5 free transfers and then wildcard in matchday 14, where you only get 3 available moves, and as you say, things will be clearer by that stage. So if you're happy to go down to 14 players because you won't be able to get rid of all 6 of those eliminated or suspended and injured players without taking a hit, then I think that's pretty fine anyway, but you are slightly handicapping yourself a little bit for this match day if I had to kind of give the other side of the argument. But yeah, that's a sound strategy. I completely get it. And ultimately, you want to kind of take advantage of the extra transfers for the first leg of the quarterfinals in matchday 13. Yeah, with Lautaro Martinez, look, I like him as a player. I've been supporting him over the years with Argentina, but I just look at him compared to Harry Kane, Mbappe, Vinicius, who is a suspension risk, and Lewandowski, and those are my favourites. I know it's a bit boring and template, and if you want to go a bit different, I think Lautaro is a decent option, but more so for the second leg, based on my prediction for the game, I think will be low scoring in Germany, and I just don't think his ceiling is that high. But if he scores the only goal for Inter Milan and gets player of the match, yeah, very good score, and he is capable of that. He can score against the best teams in the world, but I just don't think his ceiling is as high as the 3 forwards you see on screen. Goldhead says contemplating whether to bench Schlotterbeck over buying Nuno, Kim Min-jae, and instead selling Guirassy for Kane. Yeah, Guirassy scored a brace. In fact, of course, I remember because I sold him around that time, and it was a bit frustrating to say the least. I think the difference between Guirassy and Kane isn't as big as what you're describing in that defensive line, but that's because Schlotterbeck is out for the rest of the season. So I get it. Normally you target the forward transfers because if Harry Kane goes off, you know, it would be a massive score. But because he's facing Inter Milan, in this scenario, I'd actually suggest doing the opposite and replacing Schlotterbeck instead. And I think having Guirassy could be a nice differential, and it could be one of my regrets actually on the wildcard. Thank you, Sydney. It's always good to see you, and I appreciate the kind words. Alvaro Perez says Nuno Mendes, Bastoni. So Bastoni did come off against Parma with a slight concern, but he is expected to start tonight, against Bayern Munich, and he is orange flagged, but don't worry about that too much. Out of those two players, I prefer Nuno Mendes, but you might have Hakimi already, so it's all about balancing things out a little bit. And PSG obviously play tomorrow, and you might find yourself really tempted to load up on those PSG players on the Wednesday and Barcelona, and that would cause an imbalance in your squad, which isn't the end of the world, as I mentioned before, but you also want to have a little bit of an equilibrium if possible. Napstar's always good to see you as well. Thank you for the super chat. Martinez, Hakimi, Kim Min-jae, Mendes, Bacho, Sommer and Raya in goal. All defenders except Martinez used for free transfers. What do you think? No free chips. Yeah, I like it in general. It does compete with a lot of wildcard and Limitless squads. I think long term I'd rather have Courtois over Raya because I personally think Real Madrid will win. Hopefully I am wrong about that. But for Matchday 13 only, I think Arsenal have a better chance of keeping a clean sheet and winning on paper based on the odds and all that compared to Real Madrid. So I think having Raya right now is fine. And let's say, for example, Arsenal and Inter Milan go through, they won't face each other in the semi-finals because they're on different sides of the draw. So that also is a nice positive about your goalkeepers. So I think you've got the best Inter Milan defensive coverage in Jan Sommer there. And I think Hakimi, Kim Min-jae, Mendes, Pacho, they're all really strong. You've got a triple up in PSG defensively, which is a nice differential. And they are joint top in terms of the clean sheet odds with a 40% chance of keeping a clean sheet alongside Bayern Munich. And the other one is, I need to actually go through the list again, Barcelona, I believe. I'll go through that very soon. Yeah, De Vrij isn't predicted to start. Not surprised about that. He's one of the players I actually sold on my wildcard. But to go back onto this question by Napstars, anything I'd kind of recommend or something you're missing? Maybe a Barcelona defensive coverage. I know they're not the greatest defensively, but they have kept a lot of clean sheets in the last couple of months. I think Szczesny offers amazing value in that defensive line. But actually, you've got Inigo Martinez, isn't it? So you do have that Barcelona coverage, if that's the Martinez I'm thinking of. So if that's the case, I think you've got a solid defense. It can compete with most people. And I'll be honest, I don't think there is really a standout defender, as we have seen in previous rounds, but maybe I'll be proven wrong. Is Pavard an option? Yes, he should start. I think any Inter Milan defender who is in that predicted lineup by Sky Sports Italia or Jan Sommer is a very solid choice. What we see now is your wildcard. Yeah, it's what I discussed in my team selection video yesterday, but towards the beginning of this video, I did discuss the possibility of going for Saka over Bellingham, which I also discussed yesterday, and there could be another few tweaks. For example, Jan Sommer over Courtois. The downside of making that sort of transfer, though, is if Inter Milan and Barcelona go through, they will face each other in match days 15 and 16 in the semi-finals. So that means they will clash and play on the same day. It's not the end of the world, but by having Courtois and Szczesny, you've basically got two goalkeepers with a decent chance of reaching the final, and they'll avoid each other until match day 17. And by that stage, you just need a starting 11. So if you have two clashing, well, they are going to clash. It is a one-off game, of course, for match day 17, and there is no third place playoff, as we have seen in the Euros and the World Cup. How doubtful is Hakan Çalhanoğlu? I believe he's available. Unless I've missed something in the last day or so, I'm pretty sure Çalhanoğlu is expected to start. But I'll show you a predicted lineup by Sky Sports Italia very soon. Yeah, Courtois is in the lineup. It's already confirmed. Real Madrid have posted it, and I'll go through it very soon so we can also answer other questions that are quite similar. Will you do your wildcard this match day? It's already active. As you can see in my title, wildcard deadline stream. I also talked about it in my team selection video yesterday. What do you prefer? It depends on the team, Zodiac. And I did talk about this a few minutes ago, and I'll probably discuss it again for new viewers as well, but a lot is team dependent. Yeah, RMPM, I agree. Hakan should play, but let's go through that Sky Sports Italia lineup very soon. Before I do that, though, let's go for some different screens, and that includes, well, we'll go to kind of a best wildcard and limitless squad if people want to see that. This is Predict 6, and they have done something slightly different here. So it is a different format now. I've gone for Bayern Munich 1, Inter Milan 0. I originally went for 2-1 Real Madrid, but I have changed it to 2-2, and hopefully Arsenal can get a win. Barcelona 3, Dortmund 1, and PSG 3, Aston Villa 1. So there could be a few tweaks to these predictions, but here they have like different categories. So which team will score first? I've gone for Bayern Munich. Also, what will the score be at half-time? I put 0-0. Will someone score a penalty in this match, excluding shootouts? I put no. Will Kane score in this match? I put yes, and you can see the points there that you get if you are correct about these different questions. And will Inter keep a clean sheet? I've put no. So for Arsenal, Real Madrid, I'll go through these quickly, of course, and maybe refer back to them by the deadline, of course. So I have put Madrid to score first here, and a 1-1 scoreline at half-time. Will there be a goal in the second half? I put yes. Mbappe to score first. And will Rice get an assist? I've put no. And for Borussia Dortmund, Barcelona, I've put Lewandowski to score first against his former club. Will there be a goal in the first half? Yes. Will Guirassy score? I've put yes, because I don't own him, and he usually does very well when I don't. Will Rafinha get an assist? Yes. Player of the match? I've put Rafinha. I know Pedri has won the last couple of matches, in the Champions League, but I've put Rafinha, and I'm quite tempted to say Yamal as well, but yeah, Rafinha for me is probably the kind of go-to in the Champions League. And for Aston Villa, Paris Saint-Germain, I put PSG to score first. 2-1 scoreline for PSG at half-time. Will there be a goal in the second half? Yes. I keep saying yes to this sort of question. Will someone score a penalty in this match, excluding shootouts? I've put no. Will Dembele score? I've put yes, and that's 16 points because I've put the booster on this particular match, but both teams are in incredible form. Aston Villa have won 7 consecutive matches across all competitions, and PSG have 1 loss since late November, and that came against Bayern Munich, and of course they lost to Liverpool only a couple of weeks ago, so only 2 defeats in the last couple of months there. Very impressive stuff. So yeah, those are my predictions. I'll probably go back to them at some point and maybe tweak them before the deadline, but the main focus of course is UCL Fantasy and what we think there. So yeah, we'll revisit these at some stage, and I'll be interested to see your thoughts as well with all these scorelines. So the first poll I put out today was which midfielder do you prefer for Matchday 13, and 55% of you have gone for Bukayo Saka, and this vote has been all over the place. I think Bellingham was winning quite comfortably at some stage, but Saka has taken over. Next up is choose your favourite midfielder out of these two, Vitinha and Elise. Now, in terms of goal scoring and assists, I think there's no contest, but Vitinha can win Player of the Match awards. He's one of the best midfielders in Europe right now, and he can get ball recoveries, Player of the Match awards, and all of that jazz. So I think he's got that slight advantage from that perspective, but both of them are decent options and quite underrated, especially Vitinha, but Elise is winning with 65% of the vote. Now, with choose their goalkeepers, you've got 4 to choose from. Courtois, who's starting for Real Madrid tonight, Raya, Sommer, and Urbig. And Courtois is leading with 40%. You've got Sommer in second, Raya third, and Urbig in fourth. And I'm going to refresh this to get some more votes in. So vote for your favourite Tuesday captain. Mbappe has over half of the votes. Kane is second with over a quarter of those votes. And Saka is third. The other option has 7%. And I've put there to encourage you to, put your alternatives in the comments section. So feel free to do that as well later or in this live chat. So this is the Real Madrid lineup. Courtois in goal, Valverde, Asensio, Rudiger, and Alaba. So you've got the Uruguayan at right back, and Alaba used to be a left back in his Bayern Munich days, and he is now playing there for the first time in what seems like ages. Modric, Camavinga, Bellingham in the midfield, and then Rodrigo, Mbappe, and Vinicius. That is the front line there for Real Madrid. So the likes of Fellaini Mendy didn't make it, as discussed in all of my videos. Vasquez is on the bench, and Ceballos also missed this game, but there is a slight hope that he's available for the second leg next week. In terms of other news, of course, I discussed this before. So Jamal Musiala unfortunately is out for the next 8 weeks. That's a massive blow for Bayern Munich. And this is the injury list that the Bavarians have at the moment. Alphonso Davies, Upamecano, Neuer, Ito, Pavlovic, and Koeman. Of course, Musiala has joined that list on Friday night after scoring. Denzel Dumfries is going to be out for the next 3 to 4 weeks, but this was posted 5 days ago. So, yeah, maybe you could say 2-3 weeks maybe from the time I'm saying this. And we could expect Dumfries to make a return, but he's going to miss both legs of the quarterfinals. Bastoni has returned to full group training ahead of Inter's Champions League match against Bayern Munich, and we'll see the lineup for Inter Milan and Bayern Munich very soon. So once that is out, I'll be covering it on this channel. DeMarco's not yet returned to group training. The wingback trained individually today and yesterday, but will travel with the squad to face Bayern Munich. And the latest update actually has... So this is DeMarco in the lineup by Sky Sports Italia. So they've gone for Sommer in goal, Pavard, Acerbi, Bastoni, Darmian, Barella, Calhanoglu, Mkhitaryan, DeMarco, with Lautaro and Thuram up front. However, it looks like DeMarco is not fit enough and he will be on the bench. So we could see Carlos Augusto, if I'm not mistaken, playing as a left wing back. Of course, Denzel Dumfries is also injured, as I just covered. And next up is something we saw during the international break in late March. So Dani Olmo has a right abductor injury. He is expected to be out for around 3 weeks. So from now, it'd be 2 weeks, essentially, and maybe a little bit under. But it's unlikely he'll make it for matchday 14. And that would be a huge push, of course, for the Spaniard. But maybe if it progresses well, we could see a surprise. He is definitely out, though, for tomorrow's game. And then with Schlotterbeck, we got this news yesterday, shortly after I published my UCL Fantasy team selection. So Schlotterbeck has sustained a meniscus tear in his left knee and will be sidelined for the remainder of the campaign. With Arsenal, of course, something a bit similar with Gabriel. He suffered a hamstring problem, as discussed in my video, so he is out for the season as well. And very shortly, I'll be providing the Arsenal lineup. Of course, Real Madrid I just covered, but we can also look at that one more time and the formation that Los Merengues will likely go for. And the same goes for Bayern Munich versus Inter Milan. We've got 2 huge clashes today, and it'll be a pleasure to cover those matches and all the Champions League action on this channel. So let's now go back to my UCL Fantasy team for now. It's not locked in, I have to say that. There could be some late changes, and those that have signed up on Patreon and all the members know my kind of thoughts right now of the most likely moves, and I have discussed that in my team selection and also towards the beginning of this stream. So let's see. Hopefully I haven't missed too much. Yeah, Napstars has put another question, so let's go through that first. Thank you very much, mate. So, Vinicius, Lewandowski, Guirassy, Yamal, Adeyemi, Rafinha, Calhanoglu, Dembele, hit to remove a Borussia Dortmund player or no hit? I get it, it's a good question. I mean, Guirassy to Harry Kane would be a decent move, but for a hit, I'm not entirely sure if that's worthwhile. Adeyemi was actually really good for me in matchday 11, the first leg of the round of 16. And I think it's a decent differential, but I get why you want to kind of trim it down a little bit because you probably expect Barcelona to go through and they're likely to win this game as well, for the first leg at least. So Adeyemi to Bukayo Saka, if you have the money, is something I'd consider. That could be a transfer waiting to happen though in either the second leg of the quarterfinals or for matchday 15. If I had to make one move, it's actually Adeyemi to Saka. That's what I'd recommend. And I'm looking at buying Saka myself potentially. Now, if I'm honest, I do prefer Adeyemi a little bit over Calhanoglu, but you also want a bit of Inter Milan coverage because I think that tie against Bayern Munich hangs in the balance. It's a very difficult game to predict. Now, a couple of weeks ago, and also when the draw was originally made, I did have Inter Milan reaching the semi-finals, but I think both teams have a lot of injuries and key players missing. Bayern Munich probably more so. But Calhanoglu is not the best or the most exciting UCL fantasy pick, let's put it that way. He is on penalties though, which is a massive advantage, and we saw that in action last match day, only a couple of weeks ago. But yeah, I'd say maybe buy Saka for Adeyemi or Calhanoglu for a hit, if you have the funds. Guirassy to Kane could be considered, but I'm not sure if that's worth a hit, mate. Morsan says, Asensio is an easy captain for me. Clean sheet, 6-9 BR and... Oh, ball recoveries and man of the match. That is a bold call, to be honest. I disagree, to be quite honest. I think Arsenal, despite their struggles, with creativity, I think if Madrid do play a bit expansive And let's say, for example, the way they did against Real Sociedad the other day, they're going to concede a lot of chances. And I think Arsenal do thrive against teams that do that. I'm not saying they're going to win, but if I had to captain a Madrid player, it's going to be Mbappe, Vinicius, Bellingham. I think they have the highest ceiling. With Asensio, you might be right. Maybe Madrid keep a clean sheet and he gets 6-9 points, but I think he can do better elsewhere, not just from that particular match, but also across the other Tuesday options you've got. So I have to say I disagree with your comment, but football is a game of opinions, and maybe I look like a fool by the end of it, and hopefully I don't. Thank you, Napstars, by the way, a massive legend there, gifting 5 memberships. So let's see who was able to get that. But yeah, I have to say thank you very much, Napstars. That means a full month of getting early access to my videos and also many other perks like priority reply to comments on the videos and live streams. So MMK, Paulo, aka Block City FC, KevMac, Let's Talk Vinyl, and A10. Enjoy the memberships, courtesy of Napstars. He's the one you should be thanking. And yeah, I have to say, very much appreciated, mate. Get Pedri or Elise. Pedri's a good shout, to be fair. He's someone I haven't really discussed, but he has gotten a lot of Player of the Match awards this season. I'm still going to say Elise, though, because with Barcelona, my recommendation is to go for Yamal and Rafinha, Lewandowski up front. So Pedri does rank a little bit lower in that kind of Barcelona power ranking. Even Jules Koundé and Szczesny I'd also have as a priority to cover that Barcelona defence, in my opinion. But yeah, Elise for me would be the answer. I really hope Arsenal advance this time. That's surprising to hear. Of course, Wei Seng is a Chelsea fan, but it would be something new. Then again, yeah, it's going to be a tough ask. I mean, Real Madrid, it is their competition. I think Arsenal have a chance, but that Gabriel injury the other week, I mean, yeah, it was a mood killer. Let's put it that way. I think he would have been really useful for a game like this, but there is still a chance. A10, yeah, no worries. Of course, yeah, Napstars is the legend there. Vitinha, Barcola, or Cravadonna? Well, I'll be honest, I'm looking at Vitinha personally, and that could be at the expense of Elise, but with Barcola, he's got probably the highest ceiling. Having said that, there is the possibility that Doué starts instead of Barcola. So from a minute's perspective, he's probably the kind of biggest concern. So as a result, I'd personally go for Vitinha because of Player of the Match awards and ball recoveries. They're all good shouts, though, I have to say. Ansari says, hi, Dylan, nice to see you again. How are you feeling before the game? Huge one for us. Yeah, I mean, the closer I get to the match, a bit more excited, I guess. It's a huge game, something a bit fresh as well. The last time these two teams played against each other was 2006. Hopefully we see a repeat of that and Arsenal reach the final and this time win it. But yeah, one step at a time. Madrid, though, it doesn't get any bigger than that. And I think the atmosphere will be rocking. Probably the best atmosphere of the entire season. If I still have the Limitless and Wildcard, which one do you suggest to use? It is team dependent. So as I mentioned before, if you have a lot of fires to put out, and in my personal experience, I use 10 transfers on the wildcard. So if you're kind of looking at that sort of thing, I'd wildcard now and prioritize it first. Then you Limitless in Matchday 14. However, if you're happy with your squad, what you could do is actually Limitless now and then wildcard in either Matchday 14 or 15. But it ultimately depends on if you're happy with your squad, how many injured players you've got, suspensions, also eliminated players. So that is very important. I think for a goalkeeper and defender, you should go all PSG and Barcelona and Inter. Maybe your thoughts? I do like Inter Milan. That's why I have put Bastoni in there. But for example, with the goalkeeper, I think Jan Sommer is better than Courtois in UCL Fantasy. But then again, if he goes through, he will face Barcelona in the next round. And I've got Szczesny, so I want to avoid that clash. That's why I've got just Bastoni at the moment. You've got Denzel Dumfries who's injured. He would have been my preference. And I've also got the likes of Harry Kane and Elise right now. So having 2 or 3 Inter Milan defenders isn't a bad strategy, but it does kind of contradict what I'm doing, which is having 2 Bayern Munich attackers and 3 players overall. But I do agree with PSG and Barcelona. I've got Szczesny and Koundé, so that's a double up there. And I've also got Hakimi and Bacho. But in terms of tripling up, if I had to choose any team to do that defensively, it's probably PSG, despite the fact that Aston Villa are in great form. Rudiger or Nuno Mendes or Kim Min-jae? My favourite is Nuno Mendes. Ooh, Adeyemi for Bellingham. Yeah, I'd recommend that. I do like Bellingham over both legs and in the long term, yeah. Top defenders for Inter and FCB. I think Bastoni is kind of like the safest bet, despite the slight injury concern he had against Parma on Saturday. And for Barcelona, it's Koundé. I mean, I've got both of them in my team for a reason. But yeah, in second place, I think for Barcelona, you're looking at Inigo Martinez. From Inter Milan, DeMarco's not going to start, it looks like, and we'll find out very soon. So you're probably aiming for Carlos Augusto if he starts. Of course, once we get that lineup, we can go for it. I actually don't mind Pavard as well. But for me at the moment, it's going to be Jules Koundé and Bastoni. Easy says Vinicius, Mbappe, Rodrigo against the Arsenal defence. Well, if that Arsenal defence had Gabriel, I'd be more confident. But with Kivio in there, if he starts, yeah, it's a different story. Maybe Arsenal go a bit left field, and what I want to see is White alongside Timber, with one of them playing right back, and then Saliba, Lewis Skelly. But yeah, Arsenal have a lot of injuries at the moment in that same position. Califuri could have come in for Gabriel, but unfortunately he's out as well. Yeah, agreed there, A10 and MMK. Rodgers or Adeyemi out. I don't have more free transfers. If I had to pick one, it would be Adeyemi out. Now, he did very well for me, so I don't think he's a terrible option by any stretch of the imagination, but yeah, I think I'd have Rodgers. He's in great form as well. He got 2 assists against Brighton in Game Week 30, and he also scored against Forest in Game Week 31 of FPL, so he's in pretty good form at the moment, and Aston Villa are flying. By the way, another big shout out to Paredes. We've got a lot of memberships there, so huge shout out to Paredes and Napstars for their contributions to the chat today. So Carlo, FPL No Name, NS Kumas, Drawing Dead, Lloyd Smith, Eric Garcia, Michael Blackburn, Ahmed Ebada, Matic, Vrecha, hopefully I haven't butchered your name, and also Ali, B, and then, so it? Yeah, I don't want to, but yeah, thank you very much. I do appreciate that, Paredes, and yeah, I have to say that's really kind of you. The same goes to Napstars as well. Dylan, is it that we've ever lost a match with Kivio and Saliba partnership? Yeah, I saw that stat just a few hours before going live. Yeah, it's a very small sample size though, and I'm not sure if there were any like top names in there. I'd have to double check that stat and see how it's looking, but yeah, hopefully it continues today. That's all I can really ask for. I'm going to have a quick look at UEFA.com and see if they've got the Arsenal lineup. I'm pretty sure it's only a matter of time before they post it. If not, we're going to have to wait another 7 minutes. But yeah, I've got a feeling... Nice, it's not out yet, is it? Yeah, so just have to wait a little bit longer, but very shortly I'll go through all the lineups and we can, yeah, just really rack up the build-up to this Champions League quarter-final stage. It's going to be very exciting. So right now we do have over 600 people watching, which is always great to see. Let's get the likes up to 200 to begin with, and then aim towards 300, 400. That is going to be the aim. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Check all the links in the description for my Spotify, the Patreon, the Championships, Discord server, and much more can be found there. Instagram, X, you name it, Blue Sky. It's all there in the description. You can even join the UCL Fantasy League by joining or clicking the auto join link or copying and pasting the league code. So it's very easy to become a part of the community. The Discord server is also a great kind of a great hub for all UCL Fantasy and FPL news. So be sure to check that out as well. So let's go for some more questions. Once again, big shout out to Napstars and Paredes for their contributions. Kim Min-jae or Saliba? Kim Min-jae for me. I have gone for 1-0 Bayern Munich, and for Arsenal, Real Madrid, I've gone for a higher scoring affair. Yeah, exactly that, Goldhead, I agree. Gabriel Kobo says, would you take out Odegaard for Saka for a hit? I'd be tempted to. I know it's not great on paper, and Odegaard did very well in the first leg of the round of 16, but I think Saka's got the higher ceiling here. And I don't know what's happened to Odegaard, but ever since the injuries in the last year, his finishing has just fallen off a cliff. So hopefully he can recover that. And a goal today would be nice, but at the moment, I'd lean towards yes. I think the Arsenal defence will be Lewis Skelly, Saliba, White, Timber. Yeah, that's possible. That's why we saw White start against Everton and get 60 minutes under his belt. Now, Kivior did win player of the match, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Arteta comes up with in the next couple of minutes. Of course, they know the lineup already, but we will find out very soon. Should I do a -4 from Adeyemi to Yamal? I'd personally do it. Now, could it be a high-scoring affair with Barcelona winning by 1 or 2 goals and Adeyemi scores? It is possible, but I just prefer Yamal in the long term. And even for a hit, it's difficult, but I would lean towards yes in the long term. What is your bracket overall publicly rank I haven't really done my bracket. I think I did it late, so I haven't even checked, to be honest. Golja24 says, is it worth taking a -4 to take Konsa out for Nuno Mendes or Kim Min-jae? I think long term it could pay off, but to kind of assess it right now, it's difficult to say. I don't like Aston Villa defensively, despite the recent clean sheets and form. And I do think Nuno Mendes has a far higher ceiling, so I'd be tempted by the hit, but it's probably best to save that sort of transfer or aggressive move in another area of the pitch, like Bukayo Saka in the midfield. Yeah, exactly that, Ahmed. Thank you very much to Paredes once again. Rogers or Ademiel, yeah, that's been covered. De Vrij for Bastoni, but a -4. Not a big fan of it. I know Inter Milan have a solid defence, but with Bastoni, you're looking at 6 to 8 points if they keep a clean sheet. Otherwise, it's probably 3 or 4. I probably wouldn't do it, no. Do I take a -4 to take out Adeyemi for Bellingham, Saka, or Vinicius for Mbappe? I'd rather do Adeyemi to Saka if you're looking a bit short-term. Bellingham is the kind of long-term play, you know, based on my prediction of who's going to win across both legs. And I also think Bellingham at the Bernabeu next week also has a higher ceiling than Saka. But today, if it was just today, I'm really tempted by Saka, to be honest. I have a -12 at the moment. Am I cooked? You can still do well, but I have to be honest, I think a -12 is quite a lot, considering most people won't be taking hits. Now, I'm one of the few that's wildcarding. I mean, I'm not saying I'm like the only one in the world, but it's not going to be like hundreds of thousands of managers with a chip intact or that's using it this week. But I think most people will make do with the 5 free transfers. So I think it is probably a little bit excessive, in my opinion. Thoughts on Asensio starting? If this is Marco Asensio tomorrow, yes, it's possible against his former club. Wait, actually, hold up. Wait. Actually, yeah, it's not the Premier League where you got the loan rules. He should be good to go. Yeah, it's possible. I just think his minutes in general are kind of all over the place, and that's why Rogers in FPL, and I'd even class this towards UCL Fantasy, would be my favourite pick. But Asensio's been brilliant in this loan spell so far. Do you think Barca will concede? Yeah, I do. I think they will concede. I've gone for 3-1 Barcelona. Are you trying to jinx Madrid, Dylan? Look, the way I kind of look at it is I either get points or I jinx. Either way, I'm leaving with something, as Denzel Washington likes to say. But I am looking at buying Saka for Jude Bellingham. That is a possibility. And then I can move to Bellingham next week or for the semi-finals, God forbid. Saka or Bellingham, I think for this match day only, it's going to be Saka. Longer term, Bellingham is the one. So it depends on your chip strategy, how many transfers you got available, and are you able to kind of booking a transfer potentially for future match days? If you are, and you're in a great position, then I'd recommend going for Saka. And I'm potentially going to do the same thing tonight. Kalanoglu now showing doubtful. He should start though. Sky Sports Italia have him starting. He has had a few niggles over the last couple of weeks, but I haven't seen anything to suggest that he won't start. DeMarco is the doubt, but either way, in the next, 10 minutes, we'll probably see it. Yeah, best time to wildcard. So I know this question is very popular. I get it. It has been covered a lot across all my videos and today, but to kind of summarize, the best time to wildcard is when you have a lot of injured players, suspensions, and eliminations. So if you have more than 5 of those categories and you want to make more than 5 transfers, I think the wildcard is greatly used now. I think it's a great time to use it. However, you might be in a situation where, you know what, with 5 free transfers, you're good to go. You've got a very strong team and you wouldn't make many changes, if any, on the wildcard. So if that's the case, you can save it for match day 14 or 15. I would not recommend match day 17, to be honest. The same goes for the Limitless especially. And with that chip, the sooner that's used, the better. But with a wildcard, it is team dependent. I've used it now because I made 10 changes to my squad. I had Schlotterbeck injured. I also had De Vrij, who's probably not going to start. I had 3 eliminated players in Alisson, Salah and Grimaldo, not to mention a lot of Dortmund players. So that's why I ended up using the wildcard now. But for you, it might be entirely different. Take a -4 to sell De Vrij. Unless you're going to Hakimi, Nuno Mendes or a defender with a high ceiling, I'd probably avoid it. Bacho or Nuno Mendes. If you have the funds, I'd slightly lean towards Nuno Mendes. From my perspective, it would require a significant downgrade like one of Bellingham or Saka to a cheaper midfielder, which isn't the end of the world, but I want to have one of those players in that midfield. And then I look at the other positions, maybe Kane to Garassi, go back to it. It's not that bad, but yeah, I think Pacho's still a decent kind of alternative. He's going to get more ball recoveries, but Nuno Mendes can get those and also attacking contributions. So I think he is the more exciting pick. Thank you, Zodiac. Thanks for answering. I know it was tough for you last week without Dembele and Yamal. Yeah, I mean, Dembele only got 8 points, but of course that would have been more than welcome in my team. And Lamine Yamal, yeah, I was slightly regretting that one because it was a decent fixture for him. I just didn't expect him to have that high of a ceiling. And yeah, it's a bit kind of fortunate he didn't get player of the match as well. Otherwise, that would have been even worse. Hello, Dylan. What do you think about the factor of Vinicius in this match? I know he hasn't been great. He seems to up his level when the occasion arises. At club level, I agree. I just don't think he's done it for Brazil yet. But in the Champions League, he has been one of the best players in the last couple of years. I agree there. My concern with him is he's one yellow card away from suspension. I mean, if I'm making a prediction, I don't think he gets booked tonight. I think he'll play next week as well. And I think he'll have something to say. He's obviously one of the best wingers in world football. So he's a great option. I'm just going for Mbappe because there is no suspension risk. And also with penalties, there are reports that indicate that one of Mbappe or Bellingham will take the next one. And we hopefully won't see one tonight. But yeah, I think that would obviously answer a few questions. And I don't think Vinicius will be on penalties anymore. Sorry, Dylan, but okay, yeah, let me not read that out. Let's not manifest negativity. John says, my man Dylan, when you playing the Limitless, I played it already in Matchday 3, I believe, and it was all right. I gained a few points, but my non-Limitless team did very well, actually. So in the end, I could have maybe used it in another Matchday. So yeah, give your starts, and yeah, Saka was quite expected. So let's go for that lineup, and we can go through that in more detail. I'm also going to go for some different graphics, which I talked about in my team selection yesterday. So the odds, the also stats that you want to see for the Champions League. But let's quickly go to the Arsenal lineup. So Raya is in goal. Saliba, Partey, Saka, Odegaard, Martinelli, Timber, Kivior, Marino, Rice and Skelly. I can't say I'm too surprised. So Ben White is on the bench. He did look a bit off it, to be fair, and Kivior played well against Everton, but my concern with the Polish international is he does make a lot of mistakes. He might have a very good game, but he just has that one moment where he has a lapse of concentration and it ends up resulting in a goal or a major chance conceded. Hopefully that doesn't happen in the Champions League. With Real Madrid, of course, I covered their lineup earlier. So they've got Courtois, Alaba, Bellingham, Camavinga, Vinicius, Valverde, Mbappe, Modric, Rodrigo, Rudiger, and Raul Asensio. So they are going for Valverde as the right back, and they are playing Alaba in his former position on the left-hand side. So that could be a potential area for Arsenal to exploit. On the bench for both teams, we've got Neto for Arsenal, Setford, Tierney, White, Zinchenko, Trossard, Jorginho, Butler, also Gower and Wanyeri. So some decent options on the bench. But yeah, I think the likes of Gabriel, Havertz, Calafiori, they all have been very useful, of course, in the starting 11 and on the bench, and unfortunately they are missing out. Real Madrid also have some key players missing, like Carvajal, who is aiming to return in May. You've also got no Ceballos or Ferland Mendy, but in the case of the Frenchman, it looks like he is a major doubt for next week as well, but Ceballos could be available against Arsenal, and that is pretty much it. Courtois, of course, is starting, and Lunin is out of the squad, and we'll see if he recovers for the next couple of matches as well. And Fran Garcia, a natural left back there, is on the bench. So yeah, it's pretty much what you'd expect. Both players have some, should I say, both teams have some decent options on the bench. Of course, Madrid have Endrick and Brahim Diaz. Arsenal might have some super subs like Trossard, Wanyeri. So yeah, that is it. Give your starts. I have to say I'm not surprised. I was kind of hoping for White and Timber, but maybe there is a reason for that. So for Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Urbig is in goal, with a back three apparently of Stanisic, Dyer and Kim Min-jae, Lima, Goretzka, Kimmich and Guerrero, Elise, Kane and Leroy Sané, who has been in good form. I know I used to kind of wax lyrical about Sané in the last couple of years, but I think since the last campaign, I've kind of been less keen on him. But with his current form, he might be a decent shout. Inter Milan have gone for Sommer in goal, Bastoni, Acerbi and Pavard, with Carlos Augusto replacing the injured DeMarco, but he is on the bench, but not quite fit enough to start here. Mkhitaryan, Kalanoglu, Barella and Darmian, with Thuram and Lautaro Martinez up front. So Sky Sports Italia have done it once again. Of course, the Carlos Augusto versus DeMarco news was quite late, and we got that update a few hours ago, and I showed you already on this stream. On the bench, we've got the likes of Peretz, Gnabry, Joao Palhinha, Sasha Bowie, Vlahovic, Müller, Kusi, Jensen, and Kari for Bayern Munich. And Inter Milan have Di Gennaro, Jose Martinez, De Vrij, Arnautovic for Tessie, Bisek, DeMarco, De Pieri, Bernabruck, Sarketa, Reciccioni, and Zalewski. I think a lot of Inter Milan fans want to see him start over Darmian, but Inzaghi is going for the more experienced Italian in that position. So those are lineups covered. I also want to show the predicted lineups by UEFA.com for tomorrow's matches. I might refresh it just in case they've changed anything. So for Paris Saint-Germain, Aston Villa, they have gone for Donnarumma, Hakimi, Beraldo, Pacho, Nuno Mendes, João Neves, Vitinha, Fabian Ruiz, Kvaratskhelia, Dembele, and Barcola. So they don't have Doué in there, but there is the possibility he starts over Barcola. Marquinhos is out due to suspension. Doubtful players include Kang In Lee, and if Fabian Ruiz gets booked, he misses the next match. With Aston Villa, so Martinez, Cash, Konsa, Mings, Dean, Kamara, Tielemans, Rodgers, McGinn, Ramsey, Rashford. That is their lineup. And Barkley is out. Bailey is doubtful. And the likes of Dean, Disasi, Kamara, and Rashford will miss the next game if booked. For Barcelona Dortmund, they've gone for Szczesny in goal, Koundé, Kubarsi, Inigo Martinez, Balde, De Jong, Pedri, Yamal, Fermin Lopez, Rafinha, and Lewandowski. The players who are out for the Catalans include Bernal, Ter Stegen, Casado, and Olmo. Doubtful players include Inigo Martinez due to a muscular problem, and he also missed the next match if booked. And for Borussia Dortmund, they've gone for Kobel, Ryerson, Chan, Antoine, Bensabani, Nemecha, Chukwuemeka, Adeyemi, Brandt, Bayer, and Garassi. Gross is suspended. Mane, Sabitzer, Wachen, and Schlotterbeck are all out. And of course, the latter is going to be unavailable for the rest of the season. Sula is doubtful, and the likes of Bayer, Bensabani, Kuto, Ryerson, and Sabitzer are all suspension risks as well. It's worth also talking about that for Arsenal, Madrid, Bayern, and Inter. So for the Gunners, no doubtful players apparently, but Calafiori, Gabriel, Havertz, Jesus, Sterling, who is suspended, Tomiyasu, they're all out. And also Martinelli, Rice, Timber, they will miss the next game if booked. And for Real Madrid, they have a lot of suspension risks. Camavinga, Endrick, Eder Militao, Modric, Rudiger, Vasquez, and Vinicius. The players who are definitively out for this game are Carvajal, Ceballos, Militao, Lunin, Mendy, and Tchouameni, who is suspended. For Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, so Guerreiro and Pavlovic are doubtful. And also Koeman, Gnabry, Goretzka, Lima, and Sane will miss the next game if booked. The players who are out include Koeman, Davis, Ito, Musiala, Neuer, and Upamecano. For Inter Milan, Aslani is suspended. Dumfries is out for the next 3 to 4 weeks. Taremi is also unavailable. And Zielinski is another concern for the next month or so, if I'm not mistaken. And of course, they put Bastoni as doubtful, but he is starting for Inter Milan. The same goes for Kalanoglu. It was an unspecified issue. And DeMarco is on the bench, but he's not fit enough to start tonight. And that has all been covered. Barella, Bastoni, Dumfries, and Pavard are all suspension risks. And remember, with the yellow cards, they will be wiped out after the quarterfinals. So after matchday 14 and going into 15, that's when the yellow cards reset, and we have a complete clean slate going into the latter stages of this competition. So let's now go back to my UCL Fantasy squad. I have shown you a lot of different kind of updates and stuff like that. So yeah, let's answer some more questions. And someone is asking for a Limitless draft. I have done it on my channel, by the way. The only major change would be Manuel Neuer, who I did say back then is very unlikely, or at least he's a big concern for the game. And I think with Tuesday goalkeepers, it's quite difficult on the Limitless to kind of find a replacement, because I don't think any of them stand out necessarily. I might even say Urbig is the best of a bad bunch there, and you only need to worry about this match day, of course, with that particular chip. But I'll do that very quickly. Let's go to the transfer section. So I'll start off with the Limitless. So yeah, we'll start with the Limitless here, and then I'll show you a best wildcard team. But essentially, I'm wildcarding right now, so I'm going to basically have what I think is the best wildcard team. Otherwise, what am I doing? So instead of Courtois on the Limitless, I would consider Urbig. Now, he is much cheaper, and for a lot of people, this could actually mean you've got money in the bank. So the Limitless isn't that useful here. but I think Bayern Munich have the best chance of a clean sheet from the Tuesday matches, in my opinion. So that's why I've gone for Urbik. Szczesny on the Wednesday, I think that remains the same, but you might want to go for Donnarumma instead. So they're basically very cheap goalkeepers. So Urbik is, 3.9 million, and Szczesny is 4. Yeah, I mean, that is insane value in my opinion, but they will face each other in the next round. For those that want to have this on the wildcard, that is a slight concern there. So Hakimi remains. I'd keep Bastoni, personally. You've got that Inter Milan defensive coverage. Kim Min-jae, Baccio. So yeah, I'd go for Nuno Mendes instead. But they're both great options in my opinion. Jules Koundé. I'd go for Saka over Bellingham on the Limitless. As I mentioned multiple times, I think Saka is better for tonight. And hopefully he does return. Yamal Rafinha looks very solid. Vitinha is crossing my mind. I think Kvaratskhelia and Barcola are all solid. But I would go for Elise and Dembele. And the front three, Kane, Mbappe and Lewandowski. So basically 3 changes from my wildcard squad. And I might even buy Saka in the end anyway. That is what I'd go for on the Limitless. And I've got 1.4 million left in the bank. So it's not the most expensive team you'll ever see. You might back Real Madrid for a clean sheet, as one super chatter said earlier. So maybe you want to go for Courtois. That is completely up to you. But if I was limitlessing right now, I'd go for this. On the wildcard, which is what I'm doing right now, I am considering Saka for Bellingham and then reversing this move in a couple of weeks' time, or maybe just for the second leg. And other transfers I could make include Courtois to Sommer and then Bastoni to Antonio Rudiger or an Arsenal defender. But as I mentioned before, if you're also looking at the semi-final stage, Sommer and Szczesny will face each other if both teams go through. And that means they will both clash. You won't have that second goalkeeper. So from that perspective, I think the best goalkeeper pairing long-term is Courtois and Wojciech Szczesny. That's why I'm currently going for the Belgian shot stopper and also the Polish former international. So Bastoni is still here. Saka Bellingham is my biggest kind of 50-50. That is my wildcard squad. But with the Limitless, which I was asked about, that is the updated version. Urbik instead of Neuer. Saka remains from my Limitless draft from the other day. So pretty much that's the only change. So yeah, basically nothing has really moved about in a different direction. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat. To be fair, on the Limitless, one move I'd actually make is possibly Carlos Augusto for the attacking threat. But he only has 23 points this season. So, yeah, that's kind of putting me off a little bit. I mean, he's got 1% ownership. It's kind of a nice differential there. I think Pavard is also a decent shout. 3% ownership. He's got the ball recovery potential. Yeah, facing his former club. But let's see with Carlos Augusto here. Be curious to see his minutes. So he didn't play against Arsenal. He came on as a sub against Young Boys. Started against Red Star Belgrade, kept a clean sheet and did nothing else. 2 ball recoveries. Man City got 4 ball recoveries, not bad. But yeah, I mean, it's kind of hit or miss, Carlos Augusto. I was expecting better from him. He got an assist against Feyenoord at least when Inter Milan conceded. So that is what he's got over the other Inter Milan options. So I'd say one of Carlos Augusto or maybe Pavard on the Limitless is what I'd recommend. But long term, I think Bastoni is probably the best shout, if you catch my drift. Despite the orange flag, of course, he is available, and hopefully we don't see a repeat of the last match day where De Vrij was in that lineup and then pulled out just before kickoff. That kind of stung in the last UCL Fantasy match day, but there you go. These things do happen. As for my squad, yeah, Bellingham to Saka is one move I'm looking to make. Let me know in the live chat what you think. Say yes or no. I've put a poll out on my channel, and Saka is leading. And I do think for matchday 13, he is slightly better, and he's got the higher ceiling than Jude Bellingham. So having that Arsenal coverage there also helps a little bit, and I can sub him out if it doesn't go well. But of course, Bellingham, I haven't been able to catch his returns this season. I've been all over the place there. So you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. That's the kind of way I feel about Jude Bellingham. So let's go through some other super chats. I believe there's one that hasn't been answered. Once again, massive shout out to Napstars and Paredes for gifting 50 memberships between you. Massively appreciated. Julio Peña says, or Pena, I keep saying Peña, I'm adding an Enya. Hi Dylan, I have to make 3 transfers in my defensive line for the 2 remaining transfers. Should I bring in Yamal, Bellingham, Kane, or Vinicius? Pick 2, please. I'd go for Yamal, and I'd go for Harry Kane, personally. With Vinicius Jr., I still rate him very highly, and he could do very well tonight, to be fair. But he's got that suspension risk. One more yellow, and he does miss the next game. Just like Bastoni, to be fair, from my squad. And there are a few concerns from a lot of these teams. But for matchday 13 and 14, yeah, I'd prioritize Kane and Yamal, and I've got both of them in my team at the moment. Let me know your thoughts in the live chat as well. And we are getting closer towards hitting that super chat goal. Thank you to those that have contributed already. Why not Bastoni here starting? Just because on the Limitless, you can go for Pavard, who's got more ball recovery potential, in my opinion, and Carlos Augusto has more attacking threat. That's pretty much it. On the wildcard, I have been very consistent. Bastoni is my favourite Inter Milan defender. He's one of the best centre-backs in world football, and he's quite nailed on in that defensive line. So, yeah, nothing's really changed for me. Thank you, Silas. All the best of luck to you as well. Saka or Elise? Saka. I mean, if I could do Elise to Saka, I'd definitely do it. So if we actually go back to my Limitless team, to be fair, another change you could make is Bellingham and Saka at the same time, but you do miss Elise and his brilliant form as of late. But that is a nice way to differentiate your Limitless as well. Just putting it out there. I do appreciate that question as well. Hi Dylan, I have 4.9 million left for an Inter defender. Who would you pick? Well, you're kind of limited at the moment, mate, because Bastoni is higher than that. Pavard is 5 million. Carlos Augusto is 5.7. So really what you're looking at, yeah, it's you're pretty much limited to one option there, aren't you? Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, the Serbi or Darmian would be the one. That's your two options. So Serbi's 4.5 and Darmian is 4.9. He was a good option in previous seasons, Darmian. He was. My favourites, of course, would be Bastoni. I'd say Pavard and also Carlos Augusto, depending on your chip strategy and stuff like that. Difficult to say, but yeah, I don't see a massive difference between Darmian or a Serbi. Maybe I'll be proven wrong. I'd lean towards a Serbi, but small sample sizes for both players this season in the Champions League. I do think a Serbi averages more points, close to 5 per match day. Darmian is around 3.4. Yeah, Serbi, but there's not much in it. Okay, so let's close these. We do have under an hour left until kickoff, so we are fast approaching. Time is definitely flying. So yeah, we have close to 1,000 concurrent viewers. Let's get this stream to over 300 likes, and let's also push towards 33k subscribers. I'm going to have a quick look at our progress towards that milestone. So we are under 300 subscribers away from 33,000. So yeah, 260, 70-ish. So let's keep on pushing towards that goal, and by the end of the season, we will reach it. So let's get back to your questions and answer some different topics as well. Saka for Rodgers or Adeyemi, or keep both? I'd keep Rodgers and buy Saka for Adeyemi. Vitinha or Kvaratskhelia in the wildcard? I prefer Vitinha, personally. Hey Dylan, what do you think about Miles Lewis-Skelly? I'm not really backing Arsenal for a clean sheet. I know they've got a solid defence, but without Gabriel, I think they will struggle, unfortunately. Thank you, Elliot Manduna. Very much appreciated. Saka or Dembele? It's going to be Dembele for me. I just think longer term as well. I'm backing PSG to go through with Arsenal. They've got a chance, but I think Madrid are the favourites. So it's going to be Dembele for me. Dylan, what about Guerreiro? He's not in the lineup, if I'm not mistaken. Let me just double check again. But we have covered those lineups already, and we'll probably go through them one more time. But yeah, let's just go through it one more time, and then close those tabs. So for Arsenal, Real Madrid, just to recap, David Raya is in goal. Timber, Saliba, Kivior and Lewis-Skelly is the backline with Odegaard, Partey and Rice. Saka, Marino and Martinelli. Real Madrid are going for Courtois, Alaba, Rudiger, Raul Asensio and Valverde. Bellingham, Camavinga, Modric and Rodrigo. Vinicius and Mbappe up front. So Bayern Munich, yeah, Stanisic is playing there in Guerreiro's position. Urbig is in goal. Lima, Dyer, Kim Min-jae, Kimmich and Goretzka in central midfield. Elise, Guerreiro and Sane with Harry Kane up front. Guerreiro isn't on the bench. Yeah, he was a doubt going into this game, and Bayern Munich have a quite weak squad at the moment in terms of numbers. They haven't filled out their Champions League bench, as you can see there on screen. And with Inter Milan, Sommer in goal, Bastoni, Acerbi, Pavard, Carlos Augusto, Mkhitaryan, Calhanoglu, Barella, Darmian, Thuram, and Lautaro Martinez up front. So Dumfries is out, as covered before. Musiala is going to be unavailable for 8 weeks. And you've got the likes of DeMarco, De Vrij, Joseph Martinez on the bench. But pretty much what I've covered in the last couple of videos. So there you go. And of course, I did cover the suspension risks, doubtful players, the ones who are out definitively. All of that was addressed earlier. And you can see the predicted lineups for tomorrow's games on screen as well. And there are some doubts, of course, like Barcola versus Doué, who has been in great form for Paris Saint-Germain. But in general, yeah, UEFA.com tend to get it spot on. Not always, but it's a good reference point, I think, for these predicted lineups. So there you go. I'll leave a link in the live chat, and I'll continue with the questions and lock in my wildcard squad hopefully very soon. I don't want to leave it until the last minute, but I'm quite settled with most of it. It's just 1 or 2 things that I'm looking to kind of modify. But just to recap, Guerreiro is not starting. That was the original question, of course, that I was asked. So back to my UCL Fantasy squad, and I'll go to Predict 6 as well in a little bit. Guerreiro is starting. Wait, am I being stupid? Okay, yeah, maybe I'm being stupid. Sorry, I misread something. Wait, let me go back to it. Jesus. Let's see. All right, my bad. I wasn't expecting him to be an attacking midfielder, but they got to be a bit woke, as you can say. Yeah, I was just expecting to see him in the left-back position. I did say his name, so yeah, he is starting. Okay, sorry. Guerreiro is bloody starting, yeah? In a very advanced position, it seems. We could also maybe see Sane on the right, Guerreiro as the left mid or left winger, and then Elise in the centre, combining with Kane. So that is also what we could see Company do. But yeah, I stand corrected. Guerreiro is starting for those that want to go there. Last question, start Sommer or Raya? I'd probably go for Sommer. I think that game will be lower scoring. My transfers out are 5 eliminated players: Alisson, Grimaldo, Frimpong, Salah, and Alvarez. My only Tuesday players are De Vrij, Dumfries, and Calhanoglu. Which transfers in would you recommend? Well, I don't... Okay, you got 5 eliminated players. Okay, that's fine. Because if you had, like, let's say more than 5, I'm not a big fan of using one of those transfers on a goalkeeper necessarily, but it gives you another option. So I think Alisson to... I think Courtois long term. If you want to set your team up for future rounds as well, I'd go for Courtois. I would also recommend, I think, Kim Min-jae. Yeah, to replace Grimaldo. And I'd probably still go for Hakimi or Nuno Mendes as your Frimpong replacement. Then sell Salah to one of Saka or Bellingham. That also gives you more Tuesday players. Elise is decent, but I'd probably go for Saka if you want to target what's right in front of you. And then Alvarez to one of Kane. I mean, I don't know who you've got already in your team, which makes it a bit difficult to answer. But yeah, I think Harry Kane would be a great replacement if you have the funds there. Well, Ollie Watkins, I'm not sure if he starts, mate, but I did go for the predicted lineup earlier from UEFA.com, and they don't have him in there. I also think Rashford will start up front. He was rested in the Premier League the other day, whilst Watkins started against Nottingham Forest. The only player who's going to start week in, week out for Aston Villa is Morgan Rogers. Best captain for today. So I did put a poll out on my channel about this. I think Mbappe is probably the best one, but I'm not against Saka. Harry Kane is in that podium of the best captaincy options, and I think Vinicius and possibly Bellingham complete the top 5 overall. But I'm expecting a high-scoring game between Arsenal and Real Madrid, so I think, yeah, those Madrid attackers do stand out, but I do have Saka higher than Bellingham for this match day, and I think overall Mbappe is probably number 1. Guerreiro over Rudiger. Yeah, I actually don't mind that. And on the wildcard for me, that could be a decent punt, you know, me going for Guerreiro over Kim Min-jae as well. I am considering it. Keep Guirassy or transfer out for Rodrigo or Kane. I'd go to Kane if you can, but it's not a priority. Like, you don't need to take a hit for it. Free transfer, though, I'd recommend that sort of move. Pick one, says Aranya, Courtois and one of Acerbi Damian, or Sommer and Asensio. Probably Courtois and one of Acerbi Damian, because if you've got Szczesny as your other goalkeeper, you will have a clash in the semi-finals, even if Madrid and Barcelona go through, because, sorry, just to make it clear, if you had Sommer, then Inter Milan would face Barcelona, so that would be a clash in the semi-finals. So that's why I prefer Courtois, if you can. But it does depend on your Wednesday goalkeeper. Otherwise, it might be a different answer. Yeah, thoughts on Rafinha's form recently? Well, he has dipped a little bit. He did get humbled by Argentina, just got to say that right now. But look, he's a quality player. He's been the best in the Champions League. He is leading that Ballon d'Or race for a reason. And I still think he's a great Wednesday captaincy option. But I have to be honest, in the last couple of match days, he was like a lock for my captaincy choices. He really isn't, I'd say, for tomorrow. I might even go a bit different with Lewandowski or Dembele instead. But Rafinha is number one at the moment. Barra says 2 of Saka, Yamal and Bellingham. Saka and Yamal for this match day. But as I've said multiple times, it does depend on how you want to set your team up. Can you afford having a one-week punt like Saka? Because long-term, I think Bellingham is a more consistent asset. Or, to be fair, this season, I think Saka has been better than Bellingham in the Champions League. But I just think Bellingham has a better chance of going through, and he has stepped up in multiple big games for Real Madrid already. Have Szczesny, buy Koundé or Hakimi, have Mendes, Hakimi. Dawa says, hey Dylan, not sure if you've seen the comment, but what do you think about keeping Rodgers for differential? I've seen a lot of different comments about Rodgers, but not your one. Yeah, I think keeping Rodgers is fine. He's in great form, so are Aston Villa, but I'm going all in on PSG at the moment, so I'm going in a different strategy, but that is fine. Adeyemi or Rodgers for this week only, I'd lean towards Rodgers. Es el primer partido de Saka desde su lesión, si no me equivoco. Es su primer partido empezando. Pero él jugó contra Fulham y hizo el gol para ganar el partido para Arsenal, y también jugó 45 minutos contra Everton el sábado, así que para mí Saka está en buenas condiciones y va a jugar por lo menos 60-70 minutos, pero a largo plazo yo creo que Bellingham es más confiable y también Real Madrid tiene mejores chances que Arsenal, pero ojalá que no sea así. Is there any essentials or must-haves this week? I think Barcelona attackers would be almost essential. So Lewandowski up front, Yamal and Rafinha, having 2 of them at least is highly advisable. But I don't think there are many essentials because, for example, I'm going all in on Paris Saint-Germain. You might want to go for Morgan Rodgers. I mean, Martinez in goal, and you might back Aston Villa to go through. So I think some games are quite tough to call. Even Arsenal Madrid, I think Los Merengues are the favourites there, but Arsenal still have a slight chance of going through, and the likes of Saka are brilliant options for matchday 13. It's not flexing me. I'm asked the question in Spanish and I'm answering it, so, you know, I'm not going to handicap myself. Vitinha or Yamal, says Juan. Yamal. Fernando says Adeyemi to Bellingham or Guirassy to Kane. Yeah, good question. I'd lean towards Guirassy to Kane for this matchday. Yamal or Barcola? Yamal. Hi Dylan, just tuned in. If you could only choose 2 of Dembele, Yamal and Saka, then which 2? Dembele and Yamal. Adeyemi to Bellingham. Yeah, sorry, I just covered that. Henrik says Adeyemi to Saka or Upamecano to a defender. Well, Upamecano is out, of course. So he's not in the lineup and not even on the bench. He'll probably miss matchday 14, 15 and 16 as well, if Bayern Munich make it that far. I'd probably go to Saka, though, and chase the higher ceiling, but that is close. I do like Adeyemi, but that is quite close, to be fair. Elise or Bellingham? I think I prefer Bellingham if you have the funds, yeah, but not by much. Best 2 PSG mids? Dembele is first. In second, I'd probably go for Vitinha because of ball recoveries and Player of the Match awards. Now, if you want someone more offensive, then I get that. Barcola was the one I liked earlier this season, but Doué could take a spot in either leg, which I'm a bit cautious about, let's put it that way. Lautaro or Rodrigo? Rodrigo. And by the way, he deserves a mention. Rodrigo, he's always kind of overshadowed by Mbappe and Vinicius, but I think Rodrigo's a very decent punt. Vinicius over Kane? Yeah, but he is 1 yellow card away from suspension, and I've, at the moment, got Bellingham and Mbappe. Even though I'm backing Madrid to score a lot of goals, I don't think I triple up, I think, but it's not a bad strategy. Donnarumma or Courtois? They play on different days, but I prefer Donnarumma for the quarterfinals. I think PSG have a better chance of a clean sheet than Real Madrid. Recommendations for the three defenders besides Pavard and Saliba? Well, Hakimi would be my favourite overall, but if you want a Tuesday option, then Kim Min-jae or Guerreiro, actually. Speaking of which, I'm going to put a poll out on my channel, or in this live chat, and it's going to be about Kim Min-jae versus Guerreiro. So some of your questions have been answered, so refer, to the live stream. Feel free to pause and rewind if you need to. I will be going for different questions, so don't be offended if you can. Which defender do you prefer? So let's put Guerreiro and Kim Min-jae. But I'm quite keen on having one Bayern Munich defender. So let's put that on screen. We have around 43 minutes until the deadline. Let's lock everything in. Make sure that our transfers are going through. United says predicting 2-0 Arsenal tonight. I hope you're right, mate. I really do. I'll be honest right now. I'd take that and a flop of UCL Fantasy week if it also means Arsenal go through. But even with 2-0, Real Madrid, they can overcome any sort of obstacle and scoreline. Any Arsenal defender? Well, Saliba and Kivior would be good options. I think Kivior might offer the best value overall, but not for me. I think I'm backing Madrid to score in both matches, and I think they'll go through. Hopefully I'm wrong, but that is my prediction, so no. If I were to go for any Arsenal player, it's Saka, and that's about it. Eric Dyer, yeah, he's good, but I think Kim Min-jae is better for ball recoveries, and Guerreiro has the attacking potential. He's playing in an advanced position as well, so not for me. But look, he did quite well last season for Bayern Munich. Balde and Kimmich or Asensio and Saka? Asensio and Saka, I mean, there is a kind of clash there. That's the only thing I don't like about it, but yeah, Kimmich is actually fairly underrated. I don't think he's far off Elise. I really don't. And Kimmich's another one who's done okay for me, but sometimes when I sell him, he just does really well. And it kind of makes me regret selling him in the first place. But I'd say Saka. That's probably enough. Barcola or Kvaratskhelia? I think the Georgian is more likely to start. I think there is a slight concern about Barcola. We could see Doué start there instead. I'd probably still go for Barcola though, but maybe that's a mistake. I have done a captaincy poll, Matt, on my channel, but I might do one in this live chat. There could be a few differences there. But just for reference, I'll show you right now. This is the other poll, but I'll refresh and see what other votes have been cast. Saka is still leading with 55% over Bellingham. Also Vitinho Elise. Elise is still at 65%. Best goalkeeper for the Tuesday. So yeah, Courtois got 38% of the vote, but he's still first. Sommer is second, and Raya is third. Orbig is in last place there for Tuesday goalkeepers only. And this is what you asked for, the Tuesday captaincy poll. Mbappe has 52% of the votes. Harry Kane is second. Saka is third. And the other option is last with 6%. But Vinicius, Rodrigo, Bellingham, Lautaro Martinez, maybe Elise, they should all be considered, I think. But these three are the template standouts, so to speak. But yeah, that's all addressed. Of course, that doesn't matter anymore. We showed you the lineup for Inter Milan and Bayern Munich. Schlotterbeck out for the season, yada, yada, yada. These are my predictions. Bayern Munich 1, Inter Milan 0. Arsenal 2, Real Madrid 2. Barcelona 3, Borussia Dortmund 1. And PSG 3, Aston Villa 1. They have also added categories to this game, predict 6. So I've put Bayern Munich to score first. I've also put 0-0 at halftime. Will someone score a penalty in this match? I put no, but Harry Kane loves to score a penalty. Will Kane score? I put yes. Will Inter keep a clean sheet? I put no, hence the 1-0 Bayern Munich. And then for Arsenal, Real Madrid, the questions they've asked include which team will score first. I've put Real Madrid. Scoreline at halftime, 1-1. Will there be a goal in the second half? I've put yes. Mbappe to score first and Rice to not get an assist. And you can see, of course, the different point systems if you get these questions right or not. But yeah, that is what I've currently gone for. For those on the Limitless, I would consider something like this. One of Carlos Augusto, Bastoni, or probably Pavard, I think, to cover Inter Milan defensively. Orbig and Szczesny as your goalkeepers. Nuno Mendes to replace Pacho in my setup. And also Saka and Bellingham maybe at the same time. But you can also go for Elise in that midfield. And I actually don't mind a double up in the PSG attack on the Limitless chip. But that's what I'd go for with that booster. And yeah, on the wildcard, I'm kind of looking at something like this. Maybe I'll go for something a little bit different and Guerrero will replace Kim Min-jae, but his minutes are more of a concern going forwards, and he is also quite injury prone, if I'm not mistaken. He does seem to pick up a lot of knocks and injuries, whilst Kim Min-jae is usually available, despite his concerns in the last couple of months. But yeah, Guerrero averages 3.8 points, no, 2.6 per match day. I think a lot of them were sub-appearances. Kim Min-jae does offer 6 points per match day. So, yeah, I think he is leading the vote right now, Kim Min-jae. Bastoni might make way for Pavard, Saka in for Bellingham. These are all possible changes for my final team. Despite Courtois not being the best for matchday 13 as a Tuesday goalkeeper, I think him and Szczesny is a nice long-term goalkeeper duo. One of them should reach the Champions League semi-finals. So yeah, Pastor, that answers your question. Matic says Mbappe or Doué? Mbappe. Best Madrid defender, Rudiger, but he is 1 yellow card away from suspension. Transfer Calhanoglu or Adeyemi for Yamal? I think Adeyemi has a high ceiling, but if I'm also looking a bit beyond matchday 13, I think Calhanoglu is probably better long term. Guerrero captain, it's not a bad shout. I mean, that is a differential play. He can get a clean sheet against Inter Milan. I've gone for 1-0, and he's also playing very advanced, so that looks decent. Other attacking Arsenal option, Martinelli has been in good form, but Merino up front has a good record, despite being a makeshift striker. So if you're not going for Saka, and I don't recommend it, it's probably Merino next up. Yeah, I think Kvaratskhelia will play. My concern is about Barcola. It could be Doué starting instead. Hi Dylan, Barcola or Elise? I'd go for Elise. Alaba's a differential. Not for me, but if you're backing Madrid to keep a clean sheet, then it's not a bad shout. I prefer Courtois to cover that Madrid defence. I think Rudiger's better overall, but you could definitely argue Alaba over Rudiger because of the yellow card risk for the German. Nuno or Rudiger, says Barra. Nuno Mendes for me. Is the Limitless better than the wildcard this week? It depends on your team, to be honest. I mean, if I had the Limitless, I'd definitely use it in either matchday 13 or 14. But as mentioned before, if you're happy with your team right now, and you don't need to make too many changes in terms of like your long-term structure, I would Limitless now and then wildcard in 14 or 15. But if you have a lot of injury concerns and stuff like that, like let's say 7+ eliminated, suspended or injured players, then I would wildcard now and Limitless in matchday 14. Calhanoglu to Dembele or Yamal for a -4. I'd go to Dembele, but they're both good. Raul says, hey Dylan, only got one transfer left with Dumfries injured, but should I go for Rodgers or Adeyemi to Saka? I'd go from Adeyemi to Saka. And I have been asked that question a lot by different people. I get it, it's a good question, but I would keep Rodgers and sell Adeyemi. Best Inter defender on Limitless. I did go for Carlos Augusto in that kind of thing, so yeah, Podo, you did ask this a few times. I have showed you Limitless draft, quite a lot, so this is literally it. And not many changes from the Limitless video I talked about yesterday, but I'm not going to keep kind of juggling between that, otherwise it will get repetitive. What are your thoughts on Joao Neves? I do prefer Vitinha, and for me Dembele is the clear standout in that PSG midfield, and you've also got Kvaratskhelia and Barcola to make things even more interesting, but I just think Joao Neves pales in comparison to the others. Thank you, Asuma. W, he says, give Dylan a like, helps his channel. Dylan, would you move out Dumfries for a -4? Thank you, Brian, I appreciate that. There aren't many defenders I take a hit for. Nuno Mendes, Hakimi perhaps, but you would need a clean sheet and ball recoveries or an attacking return to make that really worthwhile. Because look, let's say for example you buy a defender, they get 7 points. I mean, you're only gaining, 1 point unless you're selling an eliminated player, and in your case Dumfries, yeah, I mean, you'd be more open to that sort of hit. But apart from, the PSG defenders like Nuno Mendes, Hakimi, possibly Guerrero, Kim Min-jae, Koundé maybe, because long term I think he can tick a lot of boxes. Yeah, the other defenders I wouldn't take a hit for, in my opinion. Yeah, thoughts on Lewis Skelly, as mentioned before with him, I'm not backing Arsenal to keep a clean sheet, so not for me. But if you are quite confident about Arsenal keeping one, then I think he's a decent shout. But my favourite Arsenal defender is Saliba overall. Which Inter defender to get? Long term is Bastoni. For this match day only, I think Pavard and Carlos Augusto are definitely solid. But I think Bastoni is just the one to go for longer term. Augusto or Darmian, I'd go for Augusto. Saka or Bellingham. Saka for this match day. Long term is a different story, as covered throughout all of my videos and live streams. Saka or Yamal for this match day. That is close. For this match day only, I'm still going to say Yamal, I think. Max says Saka, Bellingham, Elise, Sane, Barcola. Which duo to replace Salah and Adeyemi? Cash is not a problem. Saka. And it's between Elise or Bellingham. Now, I did mention before that Sane is in great form, and that could be a massive differential. But I think that Saka-Bellingham duo really appeals to me. I'd probably go for that. Samuel Hoyos says, take a -4 to change Rodgers or Garassi. I have Odegaard, Lautaro, and Barca. I'm guessing, yeah, Lewandowski up front. I'd rather sell Rodgers out of those two for a hit, but it also depends on the replacement. So is it Saka in the midfield? In the attacking line, who do you go for? Harry Kane instead of Garassi? This also influences the answer. But without knowing the context, I'd rather sell Rodgers instead of Garassi, but it would also mean no Aston Villa coverage potentially for you. Aranya says, okay, Guerrero instead of Kim Min-jae leaves me with exactly 5.4 million, and I always prefer attacking players, so there's that. So then I could get one of Bastoni or Pavard. The question is who? Like I mentioned just a few minutes ago, Bastoni longer term is probably the better one. Kvaratskhelia or Jude? I prefer Jude long term. Best front three is what I've got on screen, in my opinion. Kane, Mbappe, and Lewandowski. It's boring. You might want to go a bit different with Rodrigo or Vinicius. You've also got Lautaro and a few other options like Garassi. They're all worth considering, but these are my favourite three. Yeah, just covered that. Rodgers or Adeyemi out. I'd rather keep Rodgers out of the two, but they're both solid. Double up on PSG defence of Nuno and Hakimi. Yeah, for me personally, I'm going a bit all in on PSG with 3 players. Some people in the live chat are going for a triple up defensively. I think 2 is probably enough. Yeah, pass, I've covered this a lot. So basically in my team selection video, I made it very clear. I haven't made any changes from that video just yet. So let's actually go to this screen here. I might buy Saka for Bellingham. And whilst the likes of Sommer for Courtois and Rudiger for Bastoni are other moves I could make, I just think looking at the semi-final stages and potential matchups, I think it makes sense for me to go for Courtois and Szczesny as my goalkeepers. I think Bastoni long-term is the best inter-defender. And then Saka Bellingham, I think going for Saka for the short-term gains might be the best way to go. And then I can buy Bellingham for matchday 14 or 15. So that is what I'm looking at right now. There could be other changes like Vitinha for Elise. I also think Garassi is a decent shout up front, and there's a few things here and there. Nuno Mendes over Batshuayi, if I could make that work, or Guerrero instead of Kim Min-jae are other transfers I could make, but I'm quite settled on something like this. I do encourage for anybody watching to not copy anybody else and to go for your own sort of game. We are at such a late stage of the competition now that our teams will be quite similar anyway. So if you have these ideas of differentials and low-owned players to make the difference, like Pavard at the back or stuff like that, then go for it. Back your gut and separate yourself from the rest of the crowd. But with the captaincy, which I have been asked about a lot as well, as I've said multiple times, for the Tuesday, my current ranking is Mbappe first, Saka second, and Kane third on the Tuesday. And for tomorrow, I think Rafinha is currently first, Lewandowski second, and Dembele is third. So those are my rankings for the captaincy. There might be some changes, of course, and going into tomorrow, I might actually go away from Rafinha and back myself a little bit against the template. But yeah, patrons and members will know about that. I'll post my updates and let you guys know in advance. The timer is for the deadline, mate. The deadline is at kickoff, so that's why I've got the timer there. Paladin says keep them both, they're both good. Not interested in triple up in PSG up front. No, definitely not a triple up. A double up is good, but in terms of like my structure, the only team I want to triple up on is Barcelona, with Lewandowski, Yamal, and Rafinha. Then 1 or 2 offensive double ups looks fairly decent as well. I've currently got Bayern Munich and Real Madrid, which might be a mistake in terms of, you know, having Elise and Kane against Inter Milan, such a solid defense, but they are quality players in their own right. Arthur says, hi Dylan, injury crisis, Hakimi, Mendes, Kim Min-jae, Jude and Kvaratskhelia in. Thoughts? Still have Schlotterbeck and De Vrij. Yeah, good players in. I'm not a huge fan of Kvaratskhelia, to be honest, in terms of UCL Fantasy, but he has been a good signing for Paris Saint-Germain so far, and I don't mind doubling up on PSG offensively. The rest are also very good transfers. I might get rid of Bellingham, as mentioned before, to Bukayo Saka. You know, one, because I think the Arsenal star boy has a higher ceiling, and also I'm an Arsenal fan, so there's also a bit of that coming into play, and it also balances my team a little bit more. And because they play on the Tuesday, I can sub them out for those yet to play on the Wednesday. Thank you, Parsa. Captain Mbappe or Kane, says Johan. Yeah, I just mentioned that now. So Mbappe is first on my Tuesday list for the captaincy. Kane is third, with Saka in second place. But I'm actually quite tempted by Bukayo Saka as a captaincy option. So that also answers Pickbooth's question. I don't like Darmian for the long-term hider. I think he might even be benched for the second leg or going into future rounds of the competition. Hassan says Saka, Elise, Bellingham or Barcola. My favourite for Matchday 13 is Bukayo Saka. Longer term, though, I think Elise and Bellingham are just very solid choices. I like them a lot. But if I'm picking one now, it is Saka. Dembele or Jude? Dembele. Best differentials to gain rank this game, McDillan? Saka. At the moment, he has 5% ownership. That might go up to, 10% maybe, or close to that sort of figure. I'm actually going to have a look now. I'm going to refresh another tab I've got from the Champions League page and see what Saka's ownership is looking like. So Saka is now at... He's still at 5% ownership. That is very tempting, I'm not going to lie. Bellingham has 21. You know, he's not a massive template pick, so to speak, but... Yeah, I think Saka, man, that's really tempting. Dylan, you know you're going with Saka. I'm very tempted to look. I've been very clear about it. I'm not trying to hide anything from anyone. In my team selection, I did say, because I've got the wildcard available, I am tempted by going for that short-term punt, and because the rest of my squad is solid on paper, barring injury, suspensions, and eliminations, I'm in a good place to use free transfers in future rounds to build a strong squad for every single stage of this tournament. So I don't mind going for Saka right now, but it's not locked in because I also like Bellingham a lot, and I can see myself buying him for the future rounds as well. Any midfielder instead of Yamal for under 7 million? Elise, Vitinha, they're definitely good options. Your thoughts on Inter scoring and keeping a clean sheet? I did say before I'm going for 1-0 Bayern Munich, so that is possible. I think that game's tough to call, but I think in Germany, Bayern Munich might have a slight advantage, and I don't see Inter Milan winning the first leg, but over both legs, I did say a few weeks ago, I think Inter Milan could go through actually, and having Elise, Kane and Kim Min-jae could be a mistake of mine, but because I'm wildcarding right now, I'm in a decent position to get one thing wrong maybe from these matchups. Yep, this is a wildcard team, Riot. I have saved it for quite late. I usually use it in the group stages. I'd sell De Vrij if you can, but if you have to take a hit to get rid of him, then I understand why you don't want to sell him. Yeah, I'd buy Saka for Adeyemi for a hit. I like Adeyemi, but I think Saka looks really good for this match day. Pavard or Bastoni? I prefer Bastoni long term, to be honest, but they're both good. Captain Kane or Rafinha? They both play on different days, so Captain Kane today, if you want, and then you've got Rafinha tomorrow. You pick Bellingham over Saka in your wildcard team. It's not locked in, but I might go for Saka in the end. I did say this before. Bellingham is the better long-term pick in my opinion. He's the safer one. Real Madrid are more likely to go through, and Bellingham over both legs will likely outscore Saka. But for tonight, I've got a good feeling about Saka. He has a great Champions League record, and despite his recent return from injury, I think he could do very well. Hey Dylan, look at the Predict 6. They changed it way better. Interesting. I actually was a bit like meh about it, but it is something quite different to be fair. Omar says, what's your intro song name, Dylan? I love it. So, thoughts on Dumfries to Rudiger, Schlotterbeck to Stanisic, Salah to Bellingham, Kobel to Courtois. I have 5 free transfers. So the song name is Make Me Feel, and it's by my cousin, Lautaro. So I think if you type in Make Me Feel on YouTube and then put -YLB, you'll find the video. But I've used it for many years now, that song. And yeah, basically all the intro songs you hear are from my cousin, and he does some very good music. In terms of your question and the transfers, I like all of them. I'm a bit unsure about Stanisic, to be honest, and I'd reconsider that one, but maybe with Davis out, potentially long-term, we could see him start in future rounds as well, but I'd highly recommend Kim Min-jae or Guerrero instead, if you can make that work. The rest is fine. I don't really disagree with any of them, but you are going all in on Real Madrid, I see, which I completely understand, to be honest, but yeah, Stanisic is the one I'm a bit unsure about. Fernando says, Adeyemi to Elise from -4. I like Elise a lot, but I'm not sure if I'd do it for a hit. Saliba or Rudiger? Long term, I'd say Rudiger, but remember, he's one yellow card away from suspension. And I do think Arsenal have a better defence, but conversely, Real Madrid have a far better attack, and they're also more likely to go through, in my opinion. Yeah, Funda, it's definitely a wild card for me. I mean, it's not worth taking a -12 hit in that scenario. Kane for a hit instead of Guirassy, I'd keep Guirassy for me, yeah. Pavard and Bellingham or Bastoni and Saka? Bastoni and Saka. Rodgers or Elise? Elise. I have Kim Min-jae already. Yeah, doubling up on Bayern Munich defensively actually looks quite good for this match day, to be fair. I've gone for 1-0 Bayern Munich. If you can go for Guerreiro, though, I'd recommend that. Yeah, found the 11. That looks good. Mohamed says any mid instead of Rafinha. Want to go different than other players in the league. Well, Yamal is a great option. Pedri is an alternative shout there. Vitinha, Dembele, Kvaratskhelia, Barcola, Saka. There's a lot of different options, but yeah, it just depends on who you have already and what your price bracket is, but I think Saka, if you can afford that, would be one of my favourites. So yeah, Rainy, for this match day only, I'm going to say Saka, but Bellingham is the kind of long-term play. I might just go for Saka and then buy Bellingham later on. Sí, para mí Vitinha es un muy buen jugador y puede recuperar el balón muy bien, así que puede acumular puntos de esa manera y también puede ganar el mejor jugador del partido. Así que me gusta mucho Vitinha como una opción, pero también tienes a Barcola, Kvaratskhelia. Dembele para mí es el mejor lejos en ese mediocampo de Paris Saint-Germain, pero Vitinha es una buena opción. How many players should I have from today? I always say if you can, get to 8 players on the Tuesday, but if you have 7, that's fine. I've currently got 7 myself, and I think that's more than enough because going into matchday 14 next week, you will then have the reverse, 8 players on the Tuesday and 7 on the Wednesday. But even if you have like 4 or 5 Tuesday players, it's not ideal, and I do recommend bearing that in mind when building your team, but it's not the end of the world. I think your balance is fine. Bayern or Inter defender, I'd recommend a Bayern defender because I'm going for a 1-0 Bayern Munich victory. Over both legs though, I think Inter could go through, but if I'm looking at this match day only, I do slightly favour Bayern Munich at the moment. Kimmich or João Neves? Kimmich. And by the way, that reminds me, because I haven't shown you the different screens and stuff, which I wanted to do earlier. So just for those that aren't aware, these are the graphics I showed you in my team selection video yesterday, so I'll let it play out and do a bit of commentary on the side, but you can see the full analysis in that particular video. So in match day 12, I know it's in the past, I had Alisson, he got 4 points, and he did very well for me in the first leg, getting a double-digit haul there. Both Dumfries and Schlotterbeck were in my original team. They're both injured now. In the case of Schlotterbeck, out for the rest of the season. And it was quite underwhelming from my defensive line. Kalanoglu conceded a penalty and also scored a penalty, and I got rid of him on the wildcard. I captained Rafinha, my highest scoring player, which saved me a little bit in that match day. And whilst Adeyemi did well for me in the first leg, he did disappoint in the second. Let me just let that go up. So yeah, that is my current points. Well, what I got in matchday 12, 65, and I got a small red arrow in the end, unfortunately. But on the bench, you can see Raya, De Vrij, Grimaldo, Salah. I sold all of them on the wild card. The same goes Guirassy, Adeyemi, Kalanoglu, Schlotterbeck, Dumfries, and Alisson. So 10 changes were made on my wild card, and you can see some of the highlighted moves on screen here. Raya to Courtois. Maybe that leads to a loss of points this match day, but I do like it in the long term. Grimaldo to Kim Min-jae makes a lot of sense, although I'm tempted by Guerreiro. Next up is Kalanoglu to Yamal, and that's probably what I should have done last match day, with Yamal doing so well there in the early kickoff, so to speak. Salah to Dembele is also a solid move in my opinion, and up front, Guirassy to Kane is a questionable one, especially for a hit, but on the wildcard, I think it is an upgrade, and I'm backing Dortmund to be knocked out, whilst Harry Kane might lead Bayern Munich to the semi-finals, and he's having a great season overall. So this is my team selection, of course, and my current plan is actually to make one modification from my team selection, but this team is not locked in. I have to stress that a lot, and in the next 20 minutes I will be making my final transfers and captaincy decisions and having everything sorted for matchday 13. So Saka over Bellingham is what I'm looking at doing at the moment. Bastoni is orange flagged and doubtful, but of course we saw him in the lineup. All of those 11s were covered for Bayern Munich, Inter Milan, Arsenal, and Real Madrid, and everything else is pretty much what you saw throughout the entire stream and all my videos this week. So pretty much standard stuff. I've got my Wednesday players on the bench. Mbappe is my current Tuesday captain, but I'm very tempted by Bukayo Saka And on the Wednesday, I think Rafinha is the safest bet. But I might actually go for something like Lewandowski or Dembele tomorrow, and all the members and patrons will find out because I will post updates for my team there. And a big shout out, of course, to some new members we got today. We were gifted 15 by Napstars and Paredes, and also a few members who signed up anyway. So big up to all of you for supporting the channel, all the super chatters, subscribers. Thank you very much. We are pushing towards new goals like 33,000 subscribers. Let's also push towards 300 plus likes in this stream. That would be greatly appreciated. And before I go back to my team and your questions and finalize my team, I also want to do this and go to the odds very quickly. This might help you with some of your decisions with transfers and also just who you want to invest in. So according to fantasyfootballpundit.com, Barcelona, Bayern Munich and PSG have a 40% chance of keeping a clean sheet. Arsenal are fourth. Then you've got Real Madrid, Inter Milan, Aston Villa and Borussia Dortmund for Matchday 13 only. Now with the goal scorer odds, they do have Musiala in there. So in this top 15 list, it would be Bukayo Saka in 15th. They've got Lewandowski top, Dembele, Gonzalo Ramos, Rafinha, Kane, Yamal, Barcola, Kvaratskhelia, Torres, Mbappe, Olmo. But to be fair, that's another player who's out. Dani Olmo and Musiala, they're both out of the equation. Guirassy, Martinez and Kang In Lee complete this list. And of course, Saka is also up there. But his stats, the odds of him scoring are quite low compared to the top 5 you see on screen. So those are the clean sheet odds. Nothing's changed from the last couple of days, but just bear in mind some of those players like Musiala and Olmo are injured. And last but not least is just kind of a recap of how things look like. Let me just get this up here. So the winner of PSG versus Aston Villa will play Real Madrid or Arsenal, and on the other side of the bracket, Barcelona versus Dortmund. The winner of that game will play either Bayern Munich or Inter Milan. I'm going to let this play out. As you can see here, these are all the matchups. Bayern Munich, Inter Milan tonight. And we've also got another star-studded lineup of Arsenal versus Real Madrid there. And for tomorrow, PSG versus Aston Villa. I covered all the injury updates in this stream and also in yesterday's team selection. And Barcelona against Borussia Dortmund. So these are the stats of goal scoring in terms of the Champions League and the league. But some of those numbers are outdated because they were from a few weeks ago in terms of the league figures. But as you can see, Kane, Lewandowski, Dembele, Mbappe and Rafinha are the top 5 scorers across all competitions. You've also got Guirassy, Vinicius, Lautaro, Barcola, Musiala, Watkins, Elise and Havertz. But once again, 2 of those players are injured in Musiala and Kai Havertz. Next up is the Champions League top scorers. So Rafinha has 11, Kane has 10. The same goes for Guirassy. So that sort of move, which I'm doing this week, is kind of a difficult one to do because both of them are excellent goal scorers. Lewandowski has 9 and Erling Haaland has 8. And the final star I want to show you is the top assisters. Joshua Kimmich is number 1 with 6. Hakimi, Rafinha, Frimpong, De Ketelaere and Sappacosta have 5. But only the top 3 are still in the Champions League this season. So let's now go back to my UCL Fantasy squad. And that's how things look like at the moment. But a late change from Bellingham to Saka is on the cards, and maybe I'll make a few other tweaks here and there. So with this poll I put out, Kim Min-jae is leading quite comfortably, 61% over Guerreiro. Very interesting. Goldhead says, just seen the lineup, I do wonder if Guerreiro is the perfect punt this week. So as I mentioned before, he might not be playing attacking midfield. There is the possibility it's Sane on the right, then you've got Elise in the middle and Guerreiro as the left winger, essentially. I think that's what's going to happen. But if not, it is what we saw on UEFA.com, and it's Guerreiro as the attacking mid, Elise drifting in from the right. It's going to be one of those possibilities, and I think it's going to be Guerreiro on the left. Let's find out what happens, but either way, he is playing in an advanced position, and he's got a lot of goal threat. I think last season, by the way, for the round of 16 against Lazio, I almost went for him, and he was a great one-week punt. So there is that kind of element of it where maybe on the wild card, it's worth going for that sort of punt. But he has been disappointing in the Champions League this season. -4 wild card. I mean, it's only a -4, but I'd probably just wild card and save the hit. Kane captain says Tribal. He is 3rd in my list for the Tuesday captains. He's a good option, to be fair. So the question is literally double Madrid or Bayern defenses for under 11. So Rudiger on a wild card or Kim Min-jae. I'd rather double up on Bayern defensively for the quarterfinals only, but I think both are solid. I just would rather go for Kim Min-jae, basically. Dembele's a must in my opinion. He's quite close to it, to be fair. He's one of my favourite options on the Wednesday for sure. Saka or Yamal? Overall, it's probably Yamal, but I do like Saka a lot, and I think he's a great Tuesday captain, to be fair. Kane or Mbappe long-term? Well, it depends how far they go in this competition, but I'd probably say Mbappe. How many subs next round? You get free transfers in Matchday 14, the second leg of the quarterfinals. Then you get 5 free transfers again for the first leg of the of the semi-finals. So basically, it's a pattern. For the first leg of each round, you get 5 moves, and for the second leg, you get 3. I have Courtois and Sommer who to start. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that, but I think for this match day only, I do prefer Sommer, I'll be honest, but I'm going for Courtois for the long-term play as well. What I'm worried about is that Arsenal defence. With Gabriel missing, there's barely any experience in that backline, and if there's one team that can make a defence nervous in the Champions League, it's Real Madrid. Yeah, I'll be honest though, like even if Gabriel was there and Arsenal don't have much experience of the Champions League, I'd be much more confident because Gabriel is one of the best defenders in world football, and Kiwior is a decent squad player, but he can make a lot of mistakes, and I think he will get nervous, and hopefully he doesn't tonight, but if he makes a mistake, he's going to get punished. So I can see where you're coming from, but I do think White's on the bench, but I do think Timber, Saliba and Skelly, I mean, yeah, in the case of Skelly, fair enough, he's only played like 20 senior games, but with the others, they've got a lot of experience under their belt, and Kiwior is obviously a seasoned international with Poland, but he does make a lot of mistakes, to be honest. Arian says, Nuno in for Schlotterbeck for a -4 to get double PSG. Hakimi and Nuno, worth it? I did say before, one of the only defenders I like to take a hit for is Nuno Mendes, so it's not ideal, but I do think it's a nice hit. Saka versus Bellingham is the real dilemma now. Yeah, I've been feeling that all week, and the closer to the deadline, yeah, I've become even more conflicted about it. Yeah, so on the Tuesday, I have said, for me, Mbappe, Saka and Kane, in that order, is probably the best on the Tuesday, and I might even put Saka above Mbappe, but that's a close call. Thank you, Haribo. It's always good to see you. Just saw that De Vrij is benched. Yeah, I'm set on my 5 transfers. Should I risk a 1-pointer or hit him out? If you can go from him to Nuno Mendes or Hakimi, I'd probably take the hit. Otherwise, yeah, 1 point off the bench, well, probably just 0 points in the end, but maybe your Wednesday options will kind of compensate for that anyway. So it's kind of a risk versus reward factor. Do you take the hit for that defender? I'd probably say yes, but yeah, it's only a select few defenders I'd take a hit for. Maybe Guerreiro for that 1 week punt, playing as either a left winger or attacking midfielder. Best captain option for today? Yeah, just covered that. So once again, Mbappe, Saka and Kane in that order. That also answers got you use check question. Why Pacho over Mendes? Money, mate. I've got 0.4 in the bank, so I can't afford Nuno Mendes unless I downgrade somebody else. But to be honest, Pacho can compete with him. Ball recoveries is something he's really good at. He's got over 80 for the season. So once again, it's an easy question to answer, but it also depends on your strategy. So long-term, Bellingham is the better pick, in my opinion. But for tonight, I do think Saka has the highest ceiling, and I would go for him instead. And that's probably what I'll end up doing. Yeah, Native Faith, I do. ITV Football with Clive Tilsley and Andy Townsend. Good commentary. Great games. The adverts, of course, yeah, not ideal, but there was a lot to like. Also, F1 was on ITV back in the day. Michael Schumacher always winning the races. Good times, right? But yeah, I do miss it a little bit, of course, and it's free. Hi, Dylan. Awesome content. Barella or Kimmich? Kimmich for me. As I just showed you a few minutes ago, he is the top assister in the Champions League with 6 overall. Yep, I do like Kalanoglu, but Elise is better, so if you can do it for free, I'd recommend it. It's close for me. I did say Mbappe is probably first, but Saka is so tempting. Yeah, Alaba left back. He's no longer the same player he once was in that position. He has obviously played at centre back for the last couple of years. Yeah, I mean, to be honest, when you put it like that, I do think Mbappe against Kiwior, especially, I really hope for the best there. Probably Mbappe. You know, heart versus head. Yeah, logically, it's probably Mbappe, but I do like Saka a lot in general. I think he's got a great record in the Champions League, especially at home. And Arsenal have 8 wins, 2 draws, no losses, and plus 22 goal difference in the last 10 matches in the Champions League at the Emirates. So they are solid in home matches there. I think Neuer is out for the next week or so at least. I think Urbic will start in the second leg as well, but that isn't confirmed yet. Why Bastoni? Because Dumfries is out for the next 3 to 4 weeks, and I have covered this in all of my videos, so I don't want to repeat myself too much, but essentially, he's the most nailed-on Inter Milan defender, with the likes of Carlos Augusto, DeMarco, who is benched, Darmian, Acerbi. They're not nailed on to start every single Champions League game, whilst Bastoni will do, unless he's injured or suspended. Bellingham or Kimmich? Bellingham for me, if you can afford it, but they're both fine. Yeah, Pavard is decent, and to be fair, Bastoni is a suspension risk, so I completely get that. I just think Bastoni, once again, is more nailed on in general, but Pavard will start most games for me, and he's a decent ball recoverer, to be fair, and cheaper. As covered before, I'd go for Sommer over Courtois. The reason why I've gone for Courtois myself is because long-term he does very well with Szczesny, and they won't clash in the next round. I think captaining Calhanoglu would be a great differential idea. You might be right. He's on penalties for Inter Milan. If they get one, then that could work very well. But in terms of the ceiling, I don't think it's as high as the others. Thank you there, Highs. Bellingham or Kimmich? You just saw that. Kimmich or Elise? Yeah, for me, it'd be Elise, but they're both solid. Mbappe or Kane? Mbappe for me, but they're both good. Why not Nuno Mendes? Money, as I just covered before. And also Bacho offers good value anyway. Lautaro or Thuram? Based on recent form, I'd go for Thuram. Villa will shock PSG. Maybe. I mean, they're both in great form. Well, that's good to hear, HAO2K, because a lot of people have identical teams and some people just copy move for move. I hope that's not the case. But yeah, it's good to have your own differentials and stuff like that. I'm looking at making 1 or 2 changes, as mentioned before. Anachronism says Yamal or Saka this game week. Look, from a captaincy perspective, it might be best to go for Saka. I like both of them a lot. For this match day, it's very close, I have to be honest. I'd lean towards Saka from that perspective, but long-term is Yamal. I have to be honest. Long-term, Yamal, Bellingham, and these players are the ones to invest in, but favourite differential on Wildcard is Saka. I've gone for 2-2 in the Arsenal-Madrid game. I originally went for 2-1 Madrid. Yeah, if Gabriel was available, I think Arsenal would probably win this game, at least the first leg, and then Madrid go through, but yeah, we'll see. Thank you, Dylan, and good luck. Likewise, UCL. If you can afford it, Nuno Mendes, but they're both good. You're not going to go wrong with either. Mohamed says captain Rafinha or Mbappe. Captain the Tuesday player first. Mbappe plays today, so you captain him. If he doesn't do well, you can change the captaincy between the matches. So during the substitution window, after tonight's matches and before tomorrow's games begin, you will have a sub window where you can make subs and also change the captaincy. Take a hit for Hakan to... Yeah, I'm not sure who you're talking about there because you're saying the same player. Maybe it's to Elise or something, so let me know. Kimmich or Elise covered. Guerrero or Koundé. I'd be tempted by Guerrero playing in that position this week, but long term, there's no doubt that Koundé is the more solid choice. But for this match day, I would probably go for Guerrero. Never mind, I was 0.1 million off, says Thunder11. Saka or Bellingham. For this match day only, Saka. Long term is Bellingham. I've said this in all of my Limitless wildcard videos, in yesterday's team selection, and also throughout this stream today. I'm tempted to make Saka captain. I don't blame you. He's second in my list. He might even hit Mbappe to top spot. He's got a great Champions League record at home. I think he's the one Arsenal attacker that could really be worthwhile, but we've only got a few minutes until kickoff. I'm going to make some late transfers, I think. And one of them, actually, let me go to this move. Yeah, let's go to this. So yeah, Saka in for Bellingham is on the cards for me. Kim and Jai Guerrero, so many 50-50 calls to make, but I don't want to overthink it too much. There will be regrets probably, but it's good to just back your decision-making process and hope for the best there. Let's put one more poll out. And that is going to be... Yeah. I think I'm going to go for possibly just a simple one here. So which Inter Milan defender would you pick? So I'm going to put Bastoni. I'm going to put Pavard. Well, you know what? I'm going to put actually something like this and maybe go all in on Bayern. So which defender would you pick? With him and... All right, so yeah, Bastoni, Pavard, Guerrero, those are the options I'm looking at. All right. Elise or Pedri, I prefer Elise. Good luck as well, Ali, thank you very much. Going Guerrero, says Sihab. It's a nice differential for this week. I don't mind it. On the Limitless, I would go for Urbig. Yeah. So just to show you again, this is what I'd probably Limitless to. Maybe instead of Carlos Augusto, I'd go for Pavard. But yeah, Nuno Mendes, Saka, Bellingham at the same time. That's the sort of team I'd go for. Yeah. On the Limitless chip. So it does look too bad, actually. Hopefully my bloody thing doesn't crash now. It'd be a bad time to do that. Rodrigo or Kane captain. I would favor Kane, but Rodrigo is underrated. The same goes for Vinicius. They deserve a bit more. Have some fun. Go Rafa, says Goldhead. Bastoni's not injured, mate. He's starting tonight. We covered the lineups already. He is orange flagged, but I've said that throughout all my videos that he should be good to go, and he is. Barcola or Doué? I think Barcola is more likely to start, but that is one of my conundrums for that matchup, actually, of who's going to start. For this game only, Alberto, I would favor Raya a little bit, I'll be honest, but yeah, with goalkeepers, you want to avoid these kind of clashes and also transfers, booking them in. So that's why I'm going for Courtois at the moment, and I'll probably stick with it on the Tuesday. So yeah, we have covered pretty much all of these questions. So yeah, thank you to everyone for their contributions. We are close to locking in. This is my wildcard squad. Yes, it is. Yeah, Kaio, I did cover this many times, mate. So Tuesday, Mbappe, Saka, Kane in that order. On the Wednesday, at the moment, it's Rafinha, Lewandowski, Dembele. I might actually go a bit different in tomorrow's captaincy. And today, I think it's between either Saka if I bring him in or Mbappe for the captaincy, but I'll likely go for the Frenchman. Kubarsi or Balde? Balde, I think. Kubarsi was a big letdown for me. Rodgers out or Adeyemi out. As covered before, it'd be Adeyemi. They're both good options, and Adeyemi was very good for me, but I'd rather keep Rodgers at the moment. Bellingham or Elise? Probably Bellingham if you can afford it. Thank you, Ignacio. Saka versus who? Como capitán? Saka capitán. Sí, para mí es entre Mbappe y Saka. Harry Kane sería tercero, pero sí, creo que voy a ir por Mbappe, pero ojalá que Saka haga un gran partido. Yeah, I'd go for it. I like Calhanoglu, but I think Saka's worth the hit. Thank you, DG. And for anybody who hasn't liked this video yet, be sure to do so. There has been a lot of information in the stream, different graphics, and everything you need to know for Matchday 13 and beyond has been covered. We are approaching kickoff, and I will be turning on the TV soon and getting a hold of the game. Yeah, Thunder 11, I did say it just now, literally a minute ago. Balde over Kubarsi for me. I like the changes, actually. I'm on Bellingham and Saka as well. Yeah, I think that's a nice thing to do on the Limitless. I do feel that way. So, we have approached the deadline. What I'm looking to do... Yeah, it's a very close call here. I am looking at Guerrero over Bastoni, but I do like that Inter Milan defensive coverage. I really do. So I think I'm going to stick with this team for now. So yeah, Pavard has been very good, to be fair. He has been very good. Yeah, I think I'm going to go for this. Bastoni Pavard is such a difficult one, actually. I don't want to overthink it, though. I want to lock in my team. But yeah, I'm gonna go for Bastoni. Yeah, let's lock this in. It's about time. So Bellingham in, or Bellingham out for Saka, should I say? And that is my final squad. Do I captain Saka or Bellingham? I'll probably stick with Mbappe, to be fair, but I've got that one Arsenal coverage. I do think Bayern Munich might be worth targeting defensively in this match day. So there might be a slight regret about not going for Guerrero, but I want that Inter Milan defender just in case. And yeah, it's all sorted. The players on my bench play on the Wednesday. I've got Courtois starting, Kim Min-jae, Bastoni, Elise, Saka, Mbappe captain, Lewandowski and Kane, who are Tuesday players. The likes of Rafinha, Yamal and Hakimi are in my starting 11. They play tomorrow. But that is all locked in. So yeah, that is pretty much all she wrote. That is all done. Guerrero did win this poll, by the way, with 39%. if I could say that. Bastoni is narrowly behind with 38%, and Pavard is last. I do like Pavard as a UCL Fantasy option. Yeah, Saka's in. And I did say this throughout the whole stream and also in yesterday's video that I'll likely go for Saka as a 1 week punt at least. FPL Kevin says, come on, you Gunners, let's go. Cheers for the stream, bro, as always. Yes, hopefully Arsenal can get the job done and at least make this interesting and competitive going into the second. Yeah, out of those two options, I'd probably rather so Adeyemi. I think Dortmund have a lower chance of going through compared to Inter Milan. Yeah, good luck as well, Gary. I think Sane is a decent shout, to be fair. He's in good form. Aurabig versus Courtois. I prefer Aurabig for this match day only, but long term, it is Courtois for me. Yeah. So what I'm going to do now, obviously like this video, subscribe. Even if you're on your way out, that'd be greatly appreciated. I'm going to put the game on yeah, answer a few last questions and comments. Hopefully Los Merengues don't score. That is what I'm hoping for, but let's not jinx anything. Thank you, MM21. Buenas noches para vos también. Yamal or Kalinoglu from -4, says Manu. It would be Yamal for me. I definitely prefer him instead. Hopefully that hasn't caused any lagging. But yeah, let's go. MMK says, good luck, everyone. Likewise to you. Let me just go back to my squad. And yeah, that is what I've currently gone for. And by the way, there, let's change this. There we go. Better late than never, right? Let's see, that should be good. All right, yeah. That's not too shabby, all right. I am going to bring up the game, though, and answer some more questions. Hopefully it doesn't cause any lag, but yeah, I'm only going to be live for a little bit because obviously, yeah, I am going to be fully focused on the game and hopefully not nervous. Let's put it that way, but that deadline is all done and dusted. I am going on holiday in the next couple of days, and hopefully the internet is good enough so I can go live next week. And if it is, I will be here. Trust me on that one. But yeah, I can only work with what I've got, so hopefully it is all good. So the same goes for FPL as well for this Saturday deadline. If the internet works, I will be there. And I've also got some pre-recorded content. I'm going to probably record 2 videos tomorrow if possible and have that ready for the rest of the week. The best wildcard team is available for patrons and members already, so be sure to check that out if you haven't done so, and it will be published for all subscribers very soon. Let's see if I can get this game to work. Okay, let's see. Okay, oh dear. So I got the game up. And just going to answer a few last questions here. Free kick Arsenal, says FPL Kevy. The thing is, like, obviously I got my headphones on now, but once I finish the stream, I'm going to hear the Emirates Stadium. It's going to be loud today, very loud. Jibx34 says, cheers, Dylan. Likewise, thank you very much. I don't have time to captain Saka and have Rafinha captain. Yeah, that's a bit of a bummer. I always try to advise people to wait until the lineups to kind of lock in their teams, but it is kind of a difficult balance to kind of reach. But yeah, ideally you'd want to have things sorted 15 minutes before the deadline, basically. All right, fair enough, under 11. Goldhead says, was very close to selling Adeyemi for a hit to Vitinha, but resisted. Yeah, I probably would have done the same and kept Adeyemi. I do like Vitinha, but is he going to get like 10 plus points? It's possible, but I wouldn't say it's like locked in. Twisted Parky says, I didn't have long to do mine, so threw mine together. I have Timber instead of Bacho, Dembele instead of Elise. No, I agree with Dembele over Elise. I think that's an upgrade, but the other one is maybe contentious. Hopefully Arsenal keep a clean sheet, even if that doesn't go very well. Yeah, so yeah, you can see everything now, hopefully. So Easy says, prediction, Arsenal 0, Madrid 2. Bayern 2, Inter 1, PSG 2, Villa, I don't know what you've put Villa to score there, maybe 0, 1. And Barcelona 3, Dortmund 1. Yeah, good luck as well, FPL Oliver. Aranya says, went for Saka over Bellingham because he has been great in the UCL this season, and if anything is to come off for him, it'd probably be at home, plus his differential as compared to Bellingham. Yeah, and Vinicius just had a shot on target. Well, this probably happened a while ago. Raya did make the save there, but yeah, Arsenal got to be very careful with those transitions. Josh says, good luck, Dylan. I went for Guirassy, Martinez, Lewandowski, Dembele, Yamal, Rafinha, Saka, Guerrero, De Vrij injured, Rudiger, Courtois with Kobel, Hakimi, Rodgers and Dumfries on the bench. Yeah, there are a few missing players there for you, of course, but hopefully it does go well. And it's still quite competitive, I think. Kyle says, Locke, thanks for your help. You always give us fun and great other analytical perspective. I wish you the best in this life and the after one. Thank you very much, Kaya. Very nice of you. The same goes to you as well. Enjoy the Champions League football this week and also the Premier League on the weekend. Oh, you have Dembele, so I have Timber, Rudiger and Hakan, where you have Elise, Patra and Kunde. Yeah, Dembele's on my bench, that's why. Okay, yeah, so I think having this stream on is going to cause some drop frames. So yeah, I'm going to just wrap up with a few last questions and comments. Saka is cooking. Yeah, hopefully that results in some goals and assists. Aranya says went with Bastoni over Pavard, more or less, only because he has that one assist over Pavard. Every other stat between them are almost the same. Yeah, I do think Pavard averages more points per match day, 5.4 compared to Bastoni's 4.9, but it is quite close in general, and I was on Bastoni all week. I think long term he's quite nailed on, so yeah, I stuck with Bastoni in the end, and hopefully it proves fruitful. PSG 2, Villa 1 says easy. Transfer that Salah, Grimaldo, Musiala, Upamecano, De Vrij to Elise, Kim Min-jae, Yamal, Mendes and Ryerson. Interesting. I'm not a big fan of the Ryerson pick. The rest looks very solid though. Saka is on fire, says Estok Vignol. Yeah, once again, hopefully he can get those goals and assists. I did buy him late on. Thanks to Lynn for the helpful stream as always. Likewise, Josh. cCaFxb didn't go well. Yeah, I had Livramento got 11 points. Murphy got 16, but yeah, Isak was the wrong Newcastle player to captain. Twisted Parky, yeah, unfortunately not going for the Arsenal win there. Bayern 1, Inter 2. Interesting. 2 locked in at the moment. Barcelona 2, Dortmund 0. PSG 1, Villa 0. But these two are not locked in because I haven't looked at the stats. Yeah, I mean, I went for 2-2 Arsenal in the end. Hopefully they can get a win, but yeah, that's a difficult one to predict. All of these games are quite tough to call, and I think for the Wednesday games, I'll probably make some modifications to tomorrow's Predict 6 set of kind of what? Guesses, if you want to say that. And they have got a new formula and system now, so we'll see how that goes. Thank you to everyone who has tuned in. If you haven't already, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and also hit the notification bell so you don't miss a single upload or live stream for both UCL Fantasy and FPL. So if you haven't already as well, check out the links in the description for my X, Instagram and Blue Sky, Dylan RCM, the Discord server, UCL Fantasy League and Spotify can also be found there. And the plan is to do FPL and UCL Fantasy live streams over the next week, but I will be on holiday, so it will be a different setup, and hopefully the internet is good enough to have a decent stream there take place, and there will be videos as well for both fantasy formats. Take care, enjoy the football, and let's see what happens in the Champions League this week. I wish you all the best of luck there, and I'll see you very soon.